carbon dust, fluorescent rays. Placed them in the garden plush after 7 days with parsing.
Blood and flesh is always so expensive, but when you sacrifice the body, you can get this. Consciousness expanse is exponential, while your union is internal and intensive. Butterfly effect is so connected. You see that I'm a wreck, are you affected? Your energy is here, you're so detected. Your body's gone, it hurts, but I accept it. Bow to all the angels of the sky, and I bow to that one spirit by my side. I bow to the unfathomable Most High. Now if I speak the name, I'd be a lie. Think of all the ones they say moved on. I'd be a fool to think that they are gone. Should be a rule for us to say that they live on. Think it's rude for us to ignore them when they call. Thought I saw you in a shadow on the wall. Is that you? I see you standing down the hall. If I could turn back time, I would and make it stall. Help me focus, hold me up, don't let me fall. You are with me. You are with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Can't you see I wanna stay with you? You are with me. You are with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Can't you see I wanna stay with you? You are with me. You are with me. Baby, I wanna stay with you. Baby, I wanna stay with you. You are with me. You stay with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Eternally, I'm gonna stay with you. I'm gonna stay with you. Stay with you. 'Cause you are with me. You stay with me. The angels in the sky. The angel by my side. You are with me.
Peace, assalamu alaikum, hotep, namaste, jambo, ashe, shalom, shalom, all the greetings of love and light to the darkest minds of the light. Reality is simulated existence. As you see, we are on the rise. And today I have some very special guests. I'm going to just come out and say it. I call these sisters visionaries. And before I introduce them, let me take this off here. We got Sakina Ra, Doc Too Sweet, Gemini, the goddess. I'm going to take this off and I want to, hi ladies. I want to show you the definition off the bat. I just want to show the audience. You know this the drill. Please hit the like, share, come in, join, and enjoy. But I just want to get the definition of visionaries. These are visionaries on the rise. Get it? Visionaries on the rise. All right. So a visionary, especially of a person, the definition, if you describe somebody, if it's an adjective describing someone, saying they are visionary, you know, that is a visionary woman, that is a visionary man. The definition is thinking about or planning the future with imagination or wisdom, a visionary leader. Second definition is relating to or able to see visions in a dream or a trance or as a supernatural apparition. So a visionary is a person with original ideas about what the future will or could be like. That, in a nutshell, I'll stop sharing, is who I have on the panel today times 4. Yeah, I'm going to include myself. I have these sisters here and they're visionaries. We have Doc Too Sweet. She's super science, but she's also got an innovative mind. We have Gemini the goddess. She's science. She's corporate, but she's an innovative mind. Her mind is not just limited to one little box. And of course, last but not least, Sakina Ra. You know she goes deep. Sakina is the epitome of arcane. She's got all kinds of paradoxes that she puts out there. And so for everyone today, this is a great panel because we are going to take this whole table with these visionaries and we're going to sit down and ask the questions scientifically, metaphysically, whatever you want to call it. We're going to ask, what is consciousness? And the beautiful thing about consciousness is that this particular conversation is across the board. So without further ado, meaning across the board, it's transcending the metaphysical circles, the scientific circles, the spiritual, which we said metaphysical circles. Everyone wants to know what consciousness is because we exist in this realm. So without further ado, I'm going to start off introducing Doc Too Sweet, and we're just going to go around and people introduce yourselves, and then we're going to get to this conversation. I am on the R.I.S.E channel. Reality is a simulated existence. Like I said, hit the like here. Yes, I am on Sodnetter Studios broadcasting. Y'all know the HOK is my heart. So don't worry about it. Just sit down and listen. All right, Doc Too Sweet, introduce yourself. Thank you for letting me go and go and go. Thank you so much for being here. Unmute.
Do that. Okay. Hey, everyone. And thank you, Sister Nepal, for inviting me. This is such a beautiful panel. I appreciate each and every one of you. For those who are not familiar with me, I go by the name Dr. Too Sweet. I'm your friendly neighborhood scientist, but as Nepal mentioned, I also do acknowledge the spiritual side of things, and I'm able to be honest about that part. So I'm happy to share, build, and uplift each other in this conversation.
I like that. Thank you. Yes, definitely. You know what? Y'all know I'm slow on this. Delay. Anyway, thank you. Beautiful. Gemini.
Oh my gosh. I love when she said, I am your neighborhood friendly scientist. That's hot. That's hot because we need a local scientist, right?
Yeah, one who doesn't just have a tiny little box they're in. One who's not on a stranded on a castaway on an island. We need one who's out there. But anyway, I'm already getting messy. Stop, Papa. Go ahead, Gemini. Introduce yourself.
No, I'm Gemini the goddess. And people, in the collective know that, I work in corporate and have worked in corporate for a long time. I know these ladies pull me out of my comfort zone and get me to talking when really I am a introverted, extroverted type of Gemini, more introverted than I am extroverted, but I'm always happy to join in the discussions because they are colorful. I learn a lot and hopefully, I have something to add when this conversation is over.
Thank you so much. Peace to the ladies, peace queens. Katie, Michelle, I see you. Of course, I have my heart out there, Lady G2, Mrs. Graham. Last but not least, the one and only, the queen, Sakina Ra. She'll talk you into your whole soul, and then you'll be like, huh? And then you'll be laying in bed at night 2 hours later, go, oh, I know what she was talking about. Go ahead, please introduce yourself, Sakina, to the people who don't know you.
Listen, Uncle my eye to everybody, and listen, this is the funny part, because me and Gemini have been talking, and we write notes to everything, right? And so this conversation had been one up and coming, right? And so it's had somebody's name on it, right? And so we're going to talk about some prefixes and some suffixes. And we're gonna. This is good for Dr.
Too
The
sweet.
good Dr. Too Sweet, right? Because this is all in your field, right? Everybody knows I'm retired HR administrator. If you don't know, hello, I'm here tonight in rare form, right? And so this is gonna be very enlightening, right? And I'm so glad to be a part of this teaching, right? And this demonstration. So let's
And we are so glad to have you here. I just want to start it out by asking about the song that I played. I want to go around and talk to the ladies about the lyrics, starting with, it's all of us, but I just want to throw this out here. I don't have to start with anybody. Y'all are so disciplined. This is such a flow. So, I was telling the sisters in the backstage, we're talking about consciousness, and we're in consciousness. They're doing studies, mainstream science.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say it again. Mainstream science. I got to say it one more time because, I got to do my 3. In mainstream conventional science, they are now doing studies on near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. It's not pseudo. To the ones who haven't updated their, how your phone says update and you keep putting tell me later. Please stop hit tell me later, because mainstream science is now researching near-death experiences. So getting back to what I was saying, on the song, I say, blood and flesh is always so expensive. We value our material selves. But when you sacrifice the body, you can get this. So when you break out of the zone, when you're like, consciousness is just in my brain, it just works in my body. But so when you sacrifice that, when you let go of that, you will be able to get the idea. You'll be able to entertain real thoughts, real science. We're talking Max Planck, and I'm not going to just be hogging the mic this whole time, but I just got to throw it out there so we can all eat. Max Planck, the father of quantum physics, said, I see that, and I'm paraphrasing from his quote, matter is a derivative of consciousness. That's the people that are still haven't updated. They're saying that consciousness comes from matter. How can that be? Mm-hmm. Reality is you create reality through consciousness. I don't know how, scientifically. So now that we got that out of the way, we're not a bunch of well, I'm happy to call myself a pseudo, but we're not just up here getting ready to just talk about the spirit. We're going to get science involved. So blood and flesh is always so expensive. I just want to start off with that right now. What is it about us that we too much? Back it up, Napa. Why don't we want to look beyond the brain? Or can we look beyond the brain when we talk about consciousness? Ladies, visionaries, talk to me.
All right, let me reel in first, if y'all don't mind. Now, my point with science is that relying on what was so mystical became metaphorical in explanation. This is where the ancestors got disrespected. All right. So, because metaphorically, you're explaining the mystical. This is where the nominum became phenomenon. Okay. So, again, when the etymology changes, so does its action. Right. This, me and my sister Gemini, the goddess, in French. All right. Ooh la la. Now, this cosmic egg, aka Big Bang, right, that they discovered or they debunked. Now that Big Bang blew up out of air. Now that air blew up on its own, that was the Big Bang explosion. Now you got to make up what exploded again, since it's not an egg. So we went back to this very thing about the male egg and the female egg, when we knew that male egg was just fertilization. Go backwards. Now, matter. Okay? So when we talk about matter, it's the nominum versus phenomenon. Right? It's no more than what you said when you said the what's Nepal's favorite word? unfathomable.
Oh, the
Unfathomable.
unfathomable God. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you cannot explain. The nominat, that's my favorite thing off Sesame Street, is something you know. But when it's unnominal or phenomenal, you don't know what that is, right? So now here we go. So when we go to Dr. Two Sweet, when we using prefixes and suffixes in Gemini, we know that the prefix is what?
The
The word
beginning.
before, and the suffix is
The
the after.
ending.
All right.
Yes,
So
the after.
when we go in Scientology or even the medical field, right, we know that an ology would be a history, right? And just like a bio would also be the history of what though? Okay. So today you have cardiac. We already know that that's the heart of something, right? So we was going into cardiology, we're going into the history of a heart, right? Only reason I know this is because why Gemini? I took a class in metal transcribing, but because it was a quick one of those quick classes that you only had 16 weeks, I had caught a sty in my eye. They put me in the hospital for 3 days because I was related to penicillin, and because I missed 2 classes or over 3 classes, I had to get out because you can't miss those kind of classes in Excel classes.
Yes, I need to come on back. I need to pull
Okay,
you
now,
back in because you're
long
going
story short,
too far off for us now.
long story short, again, in the history of these things, in the ologies or the histories in these things, pseudo cannot become pseudo when you're using metaphorical to describe a mystical. That is pseudo in itself. That is the overplay for
That's
the
true. For
underlay.
the underlay.
There you go. So what are we saying? Somebody else can talk now.
No, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, I told y'all you better do the playback. Let me get to Doc Too Sweet. You'll see. It's gonna all come
Yeah.
together on the
I
playback.
get it.
But some people get it right now. But thank you so much, Sakina. Sakina is very deep. I want you to weigh in. Why is consciousness right now said, oh, it's only in the brain, or is it only in the brain? Talk to us. Thank you.
Well, there's this whole debate about the brain versus the mind. And I think what happens in science is there's a lot of fear of getting things wrong. And so they tread very lightly. An example I like to use is how in the 1800s, I can't remember the scientist, but he was doing an experiment and he wanted to prove that there is a medium called ether, right? And they basically ended up like debunking it, quote unquote. But it's funny to me that later on in scientific history, we have dark matter and dark energy. And for me, it's like what he was describing as ether is what we now describe as dark energy and dark matter. So when it comes to these labels that science puts out or tries to define, I think that there's a lot missing because they're working overtime to deny the metaphysical or the things that are outside of material explanation as far as science is concerned. And I will always say that science is catching up to a lot of things. They're lagging because of that fear of like being wrong or maybe discovering something that will make us change our entire perception. Like think about when Einstein came along, right? We had followed Newton for all these years and that was what it was. Einstein came along and said, but wait, there's more, and gave us a whole different perspective of our universe and how energy works and how the universe works in general. So I think that, like you mentioned, there are people who practice what's called scientism, which is not science at that point. It's a religion to where they get that tunnel vision and they can't see anything. But we have to remember that the men of old, the Renaissance men, the innovators, they were the ones who were considered on the fringe or pseudo or, not scientific until someone was able to recognize, no, this is actually just further than we were able to see ourselves. So I think that we have a lot to discover, and that science, it'll catch up eventually.
Oh yeah, science. You made some great points about the people that we look back at and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to say Max Planck again. Max Planck, Schrodinger. You mentioned, I mean, Einstein, not so much because he was a lot mainstream, but there were some things when you talk about ether, people didn't get what he was talking about when he discussed ether. Especially, I love how you brought up the ether part. I'm gonna think like consciousness. I'm gonna throw this out on the table, and I'm gonna go to my sister Gemini. Consciousness, Higgs field, not Higgs boson, because that's the particle. It's very, you can't, if you're gonna talk about science, you can't just be like, well, you know what I meant. Duh. It's the Higgs field, consciousness, and ether. I think they're very much interchanging. I want to talk about that. Like, how are they very much alike? How do they differ? And with that said, let's move on to Gemini.
Can I say something really quick, Jim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so again, this is what I want to break to the differ. So again, when you have Scientology, neurology, right, psychology, right, uh, uh, you have different branches in Scientology, right? And then you have even to the point where science fiction, dermatology, you have very different branches of neuroscience, right? And even on a show that you did, Nepal, you broke down the variations now to this, to the REM of sleeping, right? And even with me in the medical field, now I wasn't down actually on the floor. Now it was times that I was, but in times where I had to investigate or whatnot, or when you have to practice or do death and dying, right? You have to come to a point where you are discussing the last sleep or to this point. You've done it yourself, even in birthing. And so to bring on this discussion to make it as comfortable as possible. Do you see what I'm saying? Or to talk to somebody when somebody's unconscious, right? To let them know that they're, although the body is still there, they might be just unconscious. To talk to them and let them know that you are here, just to talk to them, because although the heart might be on a machine and it's pumping with the machine, and as long as the brain is still active, the body is still living on the machine with the heart, right? But once the brain is dead, right, but the heart is beating, technically the body is gone. So then they give you a choice at this time, because once the body is, the machine is only the only thing that's keeping the heart pumping, and the brain is still gone. But if the brain is active, and if the brain is gone, right, and but the heart is still beating, then that's up to you if you want this person to continue to live. But they're only going to be a vegetable. The conscious mind is gone.
Well, you know what? I talked to you. Now I remember.
Now,
I
see,
did talk to you about that once.
okay, now
Sakina.
see, that's the variation in the choice upon the family again.
Am I muted?
Okay, no, I'm just letting you know that's the conscious decision on the family and the will. So that again, that's where they leave that to the family, right? That's that DOA, the DON, and all this other stuff. You see what I'm saying? So that's something that only the family can decide. The same thing with the living on the machine, right? That's not nobody's decision but the family.
Okay,
So
yeah,
again,
but we're
now
gonna
I'm
get
gonna land
back
with
to what
that.
you were saying about the body being dead and the heart.
Right. So again,
Um,
that's only with the family. But as far as when I'm saying prefixes and suffixes, when we talk about the allergies and the what have yous and the branches, because again, when we say that they're bringing it back, no, they're not bringing it back. They already knew these things. They were studying these things. But when you say the Big Bang was something they figured out, and then they no, they already knew that, and then they stopped, and then now they're back because the air didn't blow up. It was a cosmic egg, and then they said they debunked it, and now all of a sudden air didn't blow up, and now they're going back to that. And so here we are again. Now I'm done talking. Go ahead, sister. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Queen. I was going to say, and we're going to get back to that. I did want to show this slide that I actually had. I don't think you saw the live that I did. I'm talking to Doc Too Sweet. I'm going to, if we can, try to get into the conversation a little deeper with some science. And, it's flowing great, believe it, because we got the spiritual side. We understand that. Sakina's talking about some things like the expansion of the universe. I listened to Michio Kaku. There's many universes occurring right now, but I wanted to put a pin in what you said, Sakina. I remember I was in a panel with you, and I talked about the permanent vegetative state where they did do the MRI and they still saw consciousness, even though the brain wasn't active. I had this. I've been trying to get that debate with the professor. He's running. He doesn't know. He's just running in circles around that island. I don't know when he's going to finally say, damn, I can't go anywhere. I'm stranded. I tried to get that conscious debate. But yes, even though the brain was technically dead, they still saw basically
some activity
of the person realizing, hey, I think it was a tennis match. They were saying things or feeding something into the person saying, oh, you're playing tennis. And they could see an action with not actually tennis playing, but the electricity in the mind, or how the mind was functioning. The mind, notice I said mind, because there was really no brain activity. They saw in the imaging, we got to get the specific details, but they basically saw in the imaging that person was experiencing consciousness, which is phenomenal. Was conscious. Mm-hmm. So you're probably familiar with that study. I want to just read this quote really quickly, and because I want to keep it. We make no mistake, we're being watched because we are the ones to watch. So just remind them, I'm still asking the question. Okay, what about Max Planck, the theoretical physicist and the father of physics? Max Planck is quoted as saying, quote, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. He's saying basically we can't even understand it, which we know that. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing postulates consciousness. Wrap your mind around that, no pun intended. Another quote attributed to Max Planck states this, quote, all matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We know that's the strong force by now, right? By virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume, now this is the cold part, we must assume behind this force. See, we're not just going there's more meat on the bone. We don't just leave it and we eat all that coconut meat out. You understand? Because we need to survive. I'm going to have these jokes all night. We get all the coconut meat. We don't leave a lot of coconut. So he says, we must assume that behind this force, the existence of a conscious, intelligent mind is what's behind the force. This mind is the matrix of all matter. I want you to weigh in on this, Doc Too Sweet, and then I want to go to Gemini. Talk to us about what you take from this, from the late, great Max Planck.
Well, I think what he is saying is what many of us have kind of accepted as far as consciousness relates to the world around us. When I first began my, I guess you could say, journey, I used to follow a series on YouTube called Spirit Science. And one of the things that he talked about was how basically what Max Planck is saying, that consciousness is the beginning of creation, that consciousness is expanded, and every single person who is alive with their own consciousness it has come out of that original consciousness. So some may call it God, some may call it the universe, whatever name you want to call it. But I think what Max Planck was trying to relay to people is the fact that, yes, we do create our reality. There's several scientific experiments that have proven this. I actually have a couple I'm going to talk about later once I pull up my slides and things.
Sure.
Yeah. But
Gemini goes, we could do that.
Okay. But yeah, I think that, again, when certain people practice scientism, they skip over these things because they're not able to, like you said, wrap their mind around this idea of something beyond the physical. But here we have the father of quantum physics, basically, and he's telling you that my study of the quantum field and quantum physics, quantum mechanics has led me to understand things in this manner. So who are we then? And I don't mean we, but, you know, other people, right, to say that this idea of consciousness and the mind and even in any metaphysical topic is fringe or pseudo, or, you know, whatever adjective people like to use, because how would we ever cross those thresholds if we don't navigate the so-called fringe and the things that are on the edge of our reality? So yeah, I think his quote is making a very good point, and we should continue to build on that.
Thank you so much. Gemini, go ahead, Queen. Can you weigh in? What do you take from that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, think from a historical perspective. I don't know much about, what Planck has talked about, and, quantum physics and all of that and all of that, because, for me, I'm a forward progressive type of, thinker, forward progressive type of mindset. So I'm looking at everything that we have today that has come from the things of yesterday. And so, there's lots of different, we have billions of people on the planet. So we have consciousness in and of itself, just right there alone. There's more than one way to do every single thing that we think of. So if we, brought this conversation, or bring this conversation up to, 2025, there's lots of things that we can sit here and talk about. But when we keep it, kind of like in the past, we're still limited. We're still stuck at that very person's thought process. So I'll just, kind of, weigh in a little later and listen to what you guys, whatever you want is talking
without Max Planck though, because I don't want to move on from you just yet, because I haven't really heard too much from you on this. We don't have to. I'm doing this. Especially Doc Too Sweet knows. We got to have some anchors in here, because when they go to have some fun, we're gonna see them skip over all of this and just do play. So I need to throw in, make sure that on the island, when I say anchors, put these anchors out there and see if we could fix up the minnow, the SS minnow, try to patch it up with this.
Okay, yeah, but only if this is a point of topic with them, right? So this
is a point of topic for
so if it's just this, specific thing, that is causing, the back and forth or the banter. We have friendly banter.
It's good,
we're a debate channel, right? I mean, so we have banter back and forth because people don't always see things. I mean, we have times and topics where we've stayed on one word, remember, for months.
What word?
It was incontrovertible. Remember, we had that word?
I wasn't watching then.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it was months on that one word.
Yeah, you won't catch me doing that. But the reason I'm saying this is I love science, and I love to show that they're both now science and what people have called metaphysical and what people have dared to call pseudo out of ignorance. It's all mainstream science. And then I know the sister wants to show a PowerPoint, but I can just show you something right here. I just want to show you something. See, this is what we got to do. We all have to make sure we're, like you
But
said,
aren't they
we're
two different
updating.
things, right? Aren't they two different things? So you have the metaphysics or the
No,
metaphysical, and then you
not
have
anymore.
science. So are we saying that we are, bringing the two together, or are we saying that those two are still separate things, but they come from the one?
That's great. Yes, perfect. The question that you said, are they two separate things that come from the one? They are actually, everything was one, but existed in duality. Everything. See
Okay,
that
now I
right
can
there.
understand it from a duality point.
And
I
then
can understand that. Yeah.
and then it was separated, which is fine because we talk about quantum entanglement. You can separate electrons. I don't care if you throw it all the way up in outer space on Mars, and it's right here. They'll stay entangled. So if you want to look at it in that way, you can compare what we've taken, the metaphysical and conventional science, which by the way came out of the metaphysical. Because when we talk about metaphysical, let's just take that word out of the way. We talk about spirit. Everything in the beginning with the ancestors, ancients, prehistoric, once we started developing consciousness, our brain started developing the consciousness that we know. We already had consciousness existing. But once our brain started to develop to where we are the type of consciousness we are today, that's why I said the expensive tissue hypothesis. Once our brains grew exponentially, 60% of our brains grew by 60%. And then we started to look in the sky and we saw those fires in the sky, those lights, and we saw fires off to the left of us. We knew those were other travelers or whatever we want to call. And we started to think about who are we? What are we doing? That's that egg that Sakina even says. I know she's talking about the universe in the beginning, but that's the consciousness that we came out of. Now I'm gonna hand it back, but so it is
important. Hold on, before you go forward.
Now we brought it back together.
Let me ask the question though. Stay right there because I want to know this. So are we? Because we brought that back up to 2025. So are we saying this is something similar to what when we're saying the expansion? So are we talking about Christopher Reeve, where they have literally made him machines virtually so that he can speak to people? And they also have games right now where it's just pure consciousness, right? So we're talking about the whole virtual reality where you're not using anything except your mind. We know we have this type of technology, right? There's lots of tech out there that shows us this thing. So is this thing that we're talking about where we're saying, what actually exists, outside of the body? Or are these things real? Because in 2025, I would have to say that, yes, they are. They've made technology. As a matter of fact, they have, right? They share on these kids who have no cognitive really ability, where they can't hear rather, and can't do all sorts of things, but they made this box, right, where they can where they can feel the vibrations of the game. So when people are playing sports, they hear, the vibrations of it, and they can follow the game. That is in real time. So is this what we're saying, or we're saying something else as it pertains to what consciousness is and what it can actually do in real time?
You are definitely, that is about consciousness. You're spot on. You know what I love? You know what I love about this? And Doc Too Sweet, I'm gonna pass it on to you after. Oh no, Gemini, you might not once Gemini's done, but you know what I love about us? We all have our position that we're coming from. But you look at, she brought up, and now she's talking about AI. We're talking about consciousness. We got Sakina came in talking about the expansion of the universe, or the AK Big Bang. We have Doc Too Sweet coming in talking about the ancients and people who were ridiculed or laughed at, saying, "Oh, you're not a scientist." Till now we look back and we say, "Wow, Tesla was not a clown. He was amazing. He was an innovative mind.
We've come a long way. Yeah,
he was a visionary." So now you bring everything we talk about is linked back to that one word, consciousness. So yeah, definitely. It's all consciousness. We bringing it all together. It's never, you know what? It's never really been separated. We just thought that it was.
Yeah, humans naturally compartmentalize things so they can understand them better, which how it helps us learn, but in the long run, it's caused us to forget that these things are essentially just one thing. We have compartmentalized them to help us better understand them, but that doesn't mean that they're separate. When you talk about ancient times, you know, the scientist of old was also the magician. He was also the astrologer. He was all, you know what I'm saying? He was all of these things because it took a certain type of skill and understanding of the world around them to be able to convey certain messages to people, because not everybody had that skill. We're so used to living in the information age where we could just type, you know, and find anything we want in an instant. But the ancients didn't have that. It took years. That's why I think the Egyptian mystery schools were like 40 years for you to be considered knowledgeable or an adept or an elder. And so the whole idea of compartmentalizing things to make it easier to digest, yes, it's a good survival skill, but it's like a double-edged sword, because it's also caused us to forget that, you know, there's this universal realm of knowledge, right?
Wow, thank you. Gemini, anybody before we get to Doc Two Sweets PowerPoint? Anybody want to say?
Let's go.
I wanted to throw in something really quick. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
Who, me? No.
Okay, because one point I want to throw out is that I was looking in my notes because y'all were on point, because I was writing about the IQ versus AI with the new generation Z, right? Because I think me and Jim and I was talking about tests and these children and these tests, No Child Left Behind. And so everything with the IQ and versus and these children with this AI, and the word was EI or IE and EI. I gotta find it. It's in my notes. But and because it's testing people's intelligence, right? And then also, again, when we talk about that thing that you pulled up, Nepal, with these scientists and this verbiage and moving.
What, right here?
Not the one Too Sweet brought up, the other one.
This is the one I brought up, Sakina. Queen.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the other one with the paragraphs. The paragraph.
The Max Planck quote. The Max Planck quote about
you want
consciousness.
Me to, okay.
Yes,
okay.
The paragraphical one. Right. Right, because that one goes back to regurgitating again. He questioned the Big Bang, right? And then I guess he's trying to in his new words, right? Because we're saying philosophically, right? Because now he's French, right? He's not Greek, he's French. So now he wants y'all to look at it in this new way, because everything that was in the egg or in the seed busted out in elements now. So when you talked about matter, right?
Or ether.
All of these things busted out into consciousness. So now they separated in matter. See, in Kemet, these things came out because they lived this. They walked it as they talked it. So in the cosmos, they lived under that. So they didn't worry about those things. So now, because you were the matter, and that's the fact. See, we live in that same consciousness now. But these things in this element of this egg, they all busted out. Right. So that's the cosmic egg. And so we still wondering right now, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Or the egg. You know, I was thinking that. You know, already know.
So now here you go with this cosmic egg, right? And so when the egg busted, now you have all these elements. So when we did this one thing about the multiverse, you was there in Nepal, but you left because you had something else to do. But they called it the Batman channel, but I love Batman, so we turned the bat light on for him. So now the multiverse is real. It's multiverses, and now y'all into the quantumness, right? The quantum sisters. So come on in. So before I lose my thought, because y'all know when I turn off the camera, you know what's going on. But
yes, I do.
But anyway,
oh
this
my
is
God.
y'all get deep. And I'm already lost my train of thought, but y'all keep on going because it's
okay. You go ahead.
And do the PowerPoint. And wait, I want to say to the chat too. I do want to sit here and say peace to everybody, but I can't get my comments to work. So I can see the chat, but I can't type in anything. So peace to everybody that's in the chat. Kent, I saw you, Miss Graham and Katie, everybody. I do see what you're saying, but I just can't comment.
Okay, well,
yeah.
definitely.
I just wanted to say that.
I'm glad you did that. So I do want to, Doc Too Sweet. We're gonna get your PowerPoint up, but I wanted to show you this. I mentioned this to you in conversation. Getting back to the facts that I shared before, and we just didn't see anything really come out of this. But I do want to put this out here. This isn't really about debates and who's right, who's wrong. It really isn't. It's about straightening things out and making sure that we don't go too far to the left or too far to the right. We stay right center where you can be, if you want to worship Allah, worship Allah. If you want to be in the religion of Muslim, or if you want to be Catholic, if you want to be in scientism, you do your thing, do your religion. But what we're not going to do is not keep the thing straight in the center with facts. At the university, I want to show you this, Doc. The University of Virginia, okay, they do mainstream conventional science is doing research on the phenomena regarding consciousness and reality. This is the Division of Perceptual Studies at that university. This is the former director, Dr. Bruce Grayson. Dr. Grayson is a doctor, an MD. He began his research into NDEs at the University of Virginia in the mid-70s. He's studied thousands of cases worldwide and documented the profound effects. These aren't just anecdotal cases any longer. The way science works is somebody comes and says, they put something out there. I'm going to use something else that's being, people say, doctors were telling people, oh, it's psychosomatic. What's the stuff? Help me out. It's coming out of the skin. People call it you know what I'm talking about, y'all. Come on. Where the stuff was coming out of the skin, they were like, they were being told that it's in their head, but then they kept coming to the doctor saying, oh, these things, I'm itchy. You know what I'm talking about, anybody? Where they were saying,
like a hypochondriac?
They were saying, oh, you're a hypochondriac, it's psychosomatic. What were those things called, y'all? The stuff that was coming, then they started, the doctors couldn't ignore it anymore. They couldn't ignore it anymore. They couldn't call it, and then they started seeing, they did research and they saw these microscopic little particles. They found out that it was barium, aluminum, stuff from chemtrails it was coming out of people's skin. They were hypersensitive. What am I saying? Yeah, anybody, oh my God. Morgellons. Yes.
Oh.
Morgellons.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Have you heard of Morgellons before?
I don't think so.
Let me show you. So what I'm saying is, people were saying the doctor couldn't tell them they were pseudo anymore. Let me show you what Morgellons are. They actually, the CDC talks about it now. They still try to say, oh, some of it is psychosomatic, but yes, we can definitely see that it is it's a condition that they're still studying because particles were coming out of people's bodies. I'm telling you, you cannot continue to keep on ignoring things and saying, oh, you pseudo saying that there's you saw something, you had an out of body. No, science at the University of Virginia is saying, this is real. We're going to go and we're going to study it and we're going to do it. We're going to use empirical evidence. We're going to use the best way we can, because we're going to talk about too. I especially want to talk to the scientists. how far can we actually use a scientific method to research something like an OBE or NDE? How far? Where does science stop at? What door does it stop at? But look at Morgellons. Here's Morgellons. They say it's a culture. There's culture bound. It's called culture bound syndrome, formication, fringe medicine. All of this stuff is linked. These different things that they're saying about it. Morgellons disease is a disease it's a rare skin condition. You know what? Back in 1995, you would have never found this. You see that they're saying Morgellons is a rare skin condition that causes fibers to appear under or on the skin. Why am I reading this? Because now they acknowledge it as a disease. In the early 90s, mid 90s, early 2000s, they said these people were.
It was all in your head. Yeah, it was all made up. Yeah.
And now the doctors had to research it because people saying, doctors, scientists sat down and said, wait a minute, we got to look into this. We can't keep ignoring it. Same thing with NDEs, near-death experiences, and OBEs. Well, I just want to say that mainstream science is doing it now.
Okay, can I ask a question about Asperger's?
What about Asperger's? Yeah, sure.
I mean, is that from beef or is that just?
No, that's
it's going to my head because Asperger's, I've had it.
No, you don't have Asperger's.
Is she trolling right now? She trolling, right?
Listen, hold on. I've had a lot of stuff. I've had headaches of all kinds. I need
Asperger's is go ahead.
But Asperger's in the head,
Are you being funny?
No, I just learned about
Sakina. So the Asperger syndrome is like someone's on the autistic spectrum.
Yeah,
it's a form of autism.
Right.
Type something like similar.
So you don't have it, in other words. That's what we saying.
No, you don't get it from eating meat. I mean, now see, for me, I would say I wouldn't call it pseudo, but there's some people out there who would sit up there and watch Dr. Inky pop up. Oh, you don't, do you? No, just kidding. So there's some.
You can be asinine.
Let me show you at McDonald's Exhibit A.
Oh, you know what? You see, I guess we're all messy. Shout out to Dr. Inky. My point is, a vegan might come in and say, "Yes, you do," because I can prove that autism comes from. Well, let me see. But anyway, we're gonna look at the sister's PowerPoint. Huh?
Are you
trolling?
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm like.
Sakina, now you threw off my whole point with that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to know now.
Come on.
I'm saying it not just for me.
Started.
There's other people out here that want to know. Just
Goodness
to be knowing.
gracious,
Now I'm going to ask. People want to know. It ain't just me. It's
what?
But I'm like, right the burger part.
But they want to know that.
Nobody want to know.
Is the burger part why you asked about eating meat? Like, I'm trying to.
People might go out tonight and ask for an Asperger.
No, not Asperger. It's Asperger.
Oh.
Comedy relief, right? So let's
not
to
wait, you
will do that. How did we get here?
Partly,
I don't know. But nobody. I don't know how we got here. But nobody's supposed to be here. So let's get to
it. I just thought it said Asperger's. I don't know.
All right.
Okay. Hey, hook me up with your neck, Sakina. I need that
scientific words that be messing me up. I thought it said Asperger's.
She's doing that.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's acetaminophen and Asperger's. I don't know.
Acetaminophen.
You are totally messing up my point.
I'm done.
Stop.
Okay. I'm sorry, Nepal and Gemini.
Goodness gracious.
And Dr. Sweet. I'm the Gemini.
I'm crying. I have literal tears in my eyes, bro. Like this shit.
Until I remember what it is I was gonna sit here and say.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Please.
Okay, look, Nepal looks annoyed, y'all. I think we need to ring it in. Let's circle back.
Are you gonna share a PowerPoint? Am I muted?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Let me share my screen right now. See, you told us to have a drink, so this.
No, it's not about that. I just want to get I don't want to just keep this going and just only talk about.
I got
you. Like, it's funny, but I want to keep the.
All right, I'll
Gosh,
share my
it's very
screen. Let
funny.
me know.
And then she
Let me
cut me
know.
off and made me forget my whole point.
I know. That's why I wanted you to try to remember your point,
Oh
and
my
and
God,
then
I'm
we'll bring
crying.
you back up. So, Sakina, I really thought she was serious though. But go ahead. Let's
I'm like,
let's
nah, she
welcome
trolling.
Coach K to the panel. Uh,
Okay,
you want?
you can see my screen.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
we can see it.
Cool. So, um, this the conversation that we're having right now kind of started because I shared some things with Nepal, and we've been having some very wonderful conversations. But this one here in particular, I ran across a thread because I follow a psychologist who's been in the field for over 20 years, and she shared 5 brutal truths. It should say truths, excuse the typo. The Egyptians and Mesopotamians knew about healing, performance, and creation. And you see proven by neurosciences and asterisks because we have some links here that I'm going to share. So the 5 truths, number 1, your thoughts create your reality. Number 2, the heart is the center of intelligence. Number 3, fear blocks healing and flow. 4, everything is energetically connected. And 5, rituals and intention rewire your brain. So let's start with your thoughts shape your reality. Um, so a connection was made here about the Emerald Tablets and Thoth, who taught that the mind is the builder of worlds, right? And today, neuroscience confirms that imagery, which is obviously imagining things in your mind, and focused thought activate the same neural circuits as the experiences themselves. So it's telling you that just the mere imagery, your mind can't differentiate between the imagery and the actual thing happening. So what ends up happening is your mind follows suit and says, okay, this is really happening, so we're going to perform as if this is really going on. So from the study, they say mental practice activates certain brain structures selectively, as shown by measurements of regional cerebral blood flow. It appears likely that this activation improves the subsequent control of execution of movements. This was done by the CD and Ingvar. Here's the DOI for anyone who'd like to look into it further. But this is just one example showing everyone that you can basically trick your mind into believing a thing and your body will follow suit. It's almost like the placebo effect, where a person could have an illness, the doctor gives them a sugar pill and says this is the cure, and because they've been primed to think that it's actually a medication, they take the sugar pill and they start to feel better or feel like their symptoms are being relieved. So very important in understanding how our thoughts can shape our reality. The next point here about the heart being the center of intelligence. And I meant to share a study about, they say we have 3 brains, our brain up top, our heart, and our gut. And what they found about the heart is that
you're borging a little, sis.
It actually controls more than we previously feel from your heart. Actually, it stands out 3 to 5 feet away from you. So this is very important when you think about exchanging energy. There's a book I just seen, Prophecy, that talks about energy and exchanging of energy and how your energy can affect others and vice versa. So in this particular article here, it talks about cardiac coherence, self-regulation, autonomic stability, and psychosocial well-being. In this article, we discussed the perspective that one's ability to self-regulate to moment experience is intimately tied to our physiology and the reciprocal interactions among physiological, cognitive, and emotional systems. So again, the information is here for anyone who would like to read more into that. I'm gonna get through this real quick so we could just kind of discuss all of it at once. The next point, fear blocks healing and flow.
Yes.
And this article is stress signaling pathways that impair prefrontal cortex structure and function. So the prefrontal cortex is the most evolved part of the brain region. It subserves our highest order cognitive abilities. However, it is also the brain region that is most sensitive to the detrimental effects of stress exposure. So it's basically telling us that if you're experiencing fear or you're fearful about a situation, it's going to have a physiological response in the body that is going to follow suit with that fear. So for instance, if someone has cancer, and they kind of have just accepted, hey, I have cancer, I'm going to die, this is just the end, then there's studies that have shown that they do in fact die quicker, or they speed up the cancer spreading just because their thoughts of, oh, I'm never going to get healed, I'm scared to die, so on and so forth. This one is one of my favorites because in quantum physics, we talk a lot about, again, quantum entanglement, string theory, things like that. It's everything is energetically connected. Nikola Tesla has that famous saying that if you want to understand the universe, you want to understand it in terms of energy. In this article, they say we provide a unifying neural hypothesis on how individuals understand the actions and emotions of others. Going into social cognition and how we perceive others, how they perceive us, and how our energy exchanges can affect all of that. I think this is the last one here. Yeah, so rituals and intentions rewire your brain for creation. The connection made here is that from sacred symbols to daily rituals, Egyptians mastered energy alignment. Neuroscience now proves that intentional, repeated behavior reshapes the brain. So in psychology, we have what's called CBT. It's cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is how, say, if you have a child who may be autistic and we're trying to correct or change a behavior, it's the repetitive practice that's going to get them to make those neural connections and perform from muscle memory to where it's just instinctual almost. They don't even have to think about it. So this article here by Lutz et al., this article explores initial findings and the implications of neuroscientific research on meditation. So meditation goes back to that whole idea of imagery and kind of tricking yourself into certain things. You can stop yourself from smoking, you can lose weight, you can, break any habit, so to speak. So yeah, a lot of information here. I know I went through it kind of fast, but I wanted us to kind of talk about it full circle. So any comments, any questions, or anything stand out for you guys?
A lot of good stuff, Dr. Too Sweet. A lot of stuff, that you just mentioned. We use a lot of those. I don't want to say tactics, but we use, some of this in corporate instruction, right? Because we know that, especially like the first one. Can you bring that one back up?
Yeah, let me go back. The first one, let me get it. 1 second.
Because it's so real. It's so weird that we're talking about this, right? And it can, and once you grasp the concept of it, it really applies to a lot of different things on a lot of different levels. But it's just, they just pick out, parts where the psychology on this really works well for people in certain or particular situations, right? So it's not, across the board, but once you grasp the concept, you can pretty much use it, in your everyday, because they have proven that, these methods actually work. So like that
It
first
works.
one that you brought up, I was just telling
Is this
someone,
it? Is it on the screen?
no, not yet.
Oh, Napar, can you pull that up for me, please, ma'am? If you'd be so kind.
There you go. This one.
Yeah, this,
Is that
no, go to one more, because I like that one too, but nope, keep going. One more, one more. Okay, so this
that?
one right here. So it's not necessarily,
Okay.
rituals, for us, but we know how, the adult learner or the adult brain, you have to use techniques, you have to use, certain tricks to get a person unstuck, because there's so much already written on written in the human, in a human mind, from the time you're a child all the way up to an adult. There's so much information out there. So when people have a hard time learning, or they're struggling with learning something new, we use all type of different type of
Techniques.
methods, to get people unstuck. So when we had a coworker the other day who was just saying, we noticed that every time he gets these errors, it's the same exact errors, nothing different. It's the same ones over and over and over. He's on this hamster wheel. So, and I know this when I see it, so I get him to free some space up in his mind. Write those down
Yeah.
on notes, which employees hate to write down stuff, but they don't understand how important it is to free up some space in your mind so that you can continue learning. Because if you don't process, and process, could mean a variety of things. So if you don't sing, if you don't speak, if you don't yell, if you don't scream, if you don't write it down, if you don't make space, it's hard for you to continue receiving new information. So you have to, do these things in order for you to continue to learn,
And
and
keep
so,
that. It's called neuroplasticity. That
yeah,
is the ability of the brain to basically grow, because it's a muscle, right?
yeah,
And it will atrophy if you don't use it. So that's why as you get older, it's very important to stay active, do crossword puzzles, do something that's going to stimulate your mind, because
yeah,
you still have the ability for that neuroplasticity. And a ritual, if you want to break it down to its simplest terms, it's just something that you do over and over, right? So
yeah,
like you're saying, your coworker, he's so used to doing things a certain way that as a lot of people, as we get older, it's harder for us to break those habits because we've been doing them for so long. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't have the ability for neuroplasticity. It's just going to take a little more practice to
yeah.
gain
There you
that
go.
muscle
He
memory.
has to put it in
Yeah.
practice. And I told him when I called him, and I called him in my office, like, listen, you're gonna, in order to, master this work that you guys are saying so much, hey, we want to do a good job. We want to sit here and be best team. We want to learn. Well, then you have to take into consideration some other things as well, because you're not going to learn like you think you are if it's already filled, if you've never emptied the container, if you've never done anything with all of these other thoughts, you're never going to sit here and get this and master the work like you think you are, so there's a lot of
Gotta
things
put the
that we
work in.
do, on the corporate side too, where we, kind of, and it's really quick. So it's not like a long method, because, at work, you don't get a lot of time to do nothing, because you're an adult. They expect you to
Right.
learn. A lot of things we do
And get
is
it done.
self-taught. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
have to self teach yourself ways to get unstuck, get off that hamster
Mhm.
wheel. It's a
Mhm.
must. It's a
Yeah.
must.
Be a
It's no
fast
ways
learner.
about it. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you do that, you also learn too that when in the real world, wow. So now you're unstuck at work. When you come home, you can also get unstuck as well. Causes you to, broaden, your scope a little bit more. You're able to see everything else around you things that you never noticed before. Why? Because you're putting into practice techniques. That's the word I want to use. Techniques that actually work. They know this work. This is why we sit here and use, certain techniques to help, give adult learners a push.
Yeah, there's a formula behind it, and that makes sense because the people who create these methods or techniques that they share for you to then pass on, they are the ones who are the psychologists, the neurologists who are figuring out, how does the brain process this? How does it process that? What's the fastest way for an adult to learn this, right? They're the ones who are figuring these things out because they want to obviously be effective and make sure that they're not just wasting energy and resources teaching you a thing that's not gonna work. So it always comes full circle. Like this was said in a context of the how the Egyptians mastered energy alignment, and neuroscience now proves that intentional repeated behavior reshapes the brain through neuroplasticity, optimizing performance and mental well-being. So I don't know if your coworker Gemini gets frustrated or maybe feels like they're not getting it fast enough or whatever the case may be. I would just encourage them to keep at it so they can develop that muscle memory.
Yeah, it's going to take them some time. Thank you for that too. I appreciate that because it just takes some time. Everybody is not there. Like you said earlier, it doesn't mean they can't get there. But, first it takes, going back to the initial conversation, a lot of times too, what happens is that the consciousness, a lot of people do not believe that these techniques can actually work. And so they're a little, hesitant or skeptic or a little, kind of taken back, like, wait, what? Such a small thing can help me, can boost, muscle memory, can help me remember this hard work. How is that possible? And it's like, it is definitely possible. But you have to, put it into practice. You can always leave.
Yeah, they got to see it.
Make them drink.
Right.
They got to see it in their mind's eye. I have a bag that says "Change your mind, change your reality," and that's
that's absolutely right. That. You're out, and that takes us back to is consciousness just on the level of obviously somatosensory, where we can sense our surroundings, of course, or is it something else? Is consciousness that actual tool that when I look at what Max Planck says and says that material or matter it comes out of consciousness. I know he doesn't specifically say that, but I do want to move on to our sister, Coach K.
Okay.
Here. She joined our panel. Peace, Coach K.
Hey.
You want to add in? And I dropped the link in the chat if you want to join. And just keep flowing, but I did want her to give her a chance to speak because
I'm just enjoying the conversation. Doc Too Sweet, it's my first time actually getting to meet you, so it's definitely a pleasure. I'm enjoying the information, especially as a person who is in the mental health field. Definitely know about cognitive behavioral therapy. It's definitely one of the most popular tools that are used. And then also as a mother of a child with that has mild autism, so I definitely can appreciate the information that you're bringing to the platform right now. And the conversation is great. So I'm just listening in, getting that insight.
I'm glad you're here
from some of these articles you are mentioning.
I just want to let Talk Too Sweet know most of the amazing music, I'd say about 60% that you hear us playing on Sonnetter Studios is this sister, this queen. And
really? Okay, let me tip my hat to you.
Yeah, the affirmation work. Yeah, I think he got.
I'm a musician, so I appreciate it.
Cool. So let's talk about let's get back to the thing about the heart. You did. I love that PowerPoint you put together. It's to the point, no pun intended. It's not, but there are over 40,000 neurons in the heart, and if we have this debate and I mean not the people in the consciousness community, I mean around the world, where if we're having this
Right.
debate about consciousness, where is it, what is it, where is it coming from? We can definitely start with the brain. We're not saying consciousness isn't in the brain, but now when we look in the brain, the first thing they go to is, what's going on in there, the neurons, all the different, how neurotransmitters
The
are
synapses, yeah.
synapses, all the neurotransmitters being fired off and reuptaking and things like that, all that great stuff about the brain, right? So if there's neurons in the brain and we're relating that to consciousness, let's talk about it. Now we know there's neurons in the heart. Consciousness is existing in the heart. Have you ever heard of, I think it's emotional coherence or heart coherence, where it's something like what you said about the energy field. But I'm gonna postulate and throw this out here. That energy field doesn't just go 3 feet. I'm sharing my heart energy on this panel right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that scientifically.
Or people out there watching, like energy moves beyond. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And I think they only say that 3 to 5 feet field because that's all that they can empirically measure, right? Because we can think of it in terms of the quantum entanglement. Like, yeah, I'm over here, and maybe you can only measure my heart field to this extent, but we know through quantum physics that there's really no space between any of us, right? The space is an illusion. So I think it just gives credence to the idea of how easy it is for people to be energy vampires, or for how a person with good energy can fill a room by just, walking in it, right? It just gives credence to all of these things. Our intuition, right? They're still trying to figure out what that really is, just like consciousness. But I would say for people like me, knowing that everything is energy, it really seems kind of simple to think that there are levels of energy that we can't empirically measure right now, right? We know it's there, but we can't actually quantify it. And again, this is where science is afraid to overextend itself, so to speak, because we need the proof, we need the methodology, we need all of that, all of those things, which I'm grateful for, because it keeps people from being able to just say anything, right? So it's a good thing, but it also is, again, that double-edged sword. It's like, it's also keeping us from making those leaps and bounds, I think, sometimes.
Right.
It's so interesting that we will say that, the heart, at the center of the heart lies intelligence. Then we will sit here and take a heart and say, that's weakness. It's like, wait, what? I mean, it's so deep, right? And then, even some of the addictions, because this also explains why too, even though, like you said, you can't feel it, right? You get next to a person, you can literally feel, the magnetism between the two. Yet, it feels so good because, like you're saying, all these neurons, all these things are going off, all these endorphins, and people literally get addicted to that particular feeling of being close to someone, and so they want to do it over and over and over and over. It's quite the complex type of situation.
There is a such thing as a love addiction, so love and
I was
that
gonna say
connection
that,
and attraction can definitely be magnetic and
like a drug.
Yeah, like a
Like a
drug.
drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, there's people behind bars in the grave,
Absolutely.
all kind of stuff over that feeling. So yeah.
What's that
Yes.
show that they have that's out called I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's a show where they showcase it's like that. Snapped.
Oh,
Oh,
snap.
yeah.
That
Oh
used to
yeah.
be,
One of my shows.
that used to be my show.
Right. That's one of those shows that kind of show you where love goes wrong.
When love
Yeah,
goes wrong.
that's right. Snapped. Wow.
Mhm.
Now they
And
call
then
it
you wanna
they call it crashed. They don't call it snapped anymore. Crashed out.
right, and then in the same breath they'll call it a straight weakness, right? Don't
Right.
give your heart, but yet and still, like you said, there's intelligence there. So to actually, we're talking about energetically, pulling from people. So, I can literally, if we're close enough, right, you can feel what's in another person's heart. You can feel that anger.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel that resistance. You can feel that, that distance. You can feel all of these emotions, but yet and still, hey, 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 it's a weakness. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. It's like, no, if you sit here and change your perspective about your heart and what your heart can actually do and what it gives off, then you change everything around you. That's that radiance you were talking about,
our, our
earlier.
mind gets in the way. There's a cartoon, not a cartoon, but what do you call it? A meme
A meme.
where it shows the heart and the brain are like kind of arguing because the heart wants to run off and be in love and all these other things, and the brain is like, but hold up though, we got to really think about this. And I think that's one of the contradictions of being a human, is that there's always that battle. One time I was having a conversation with my grandmother who's very religious, and there's a Bible verse about the heart being wicked. Something about following your heart is wicked. And I'm just like, but and this, I'm younger, because I'm like, why would God give us a heart but then tell us to follow it? I'm like trying to figure this stuff
And
out.
it's
But
wicked all at the same time.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
like
Anybody?
Gemini
Oh, we hear you now.
was saying,
Okay, so
it's just crazy
But real
how
quick, you want to hear something interesting? Oh, I'm sorry. Who was somebody
I
we
talking?
wanted
have
to
this
say
idea
this.
of like, don't be weak. Coming in and out for a second.
Okay, I wanted to say this
Go ahead.
really quick. You know how one thing is, when we all, as women, when we all have our children, that newborn baby knows us from any other person. That consciousness from that newborn child knows
Oh yeah.
us from no matter who picks that baby up. Once we grab our child, that baby knows it's us.
And the baby has been fully, obviously, inside of our bodies,
Exactly.
connected with our heart energy.
From the
And,
heart.
and I do go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm just, if you didn't finish up, I just want to show again. I loved your PowerPoint. I just want to elaborate on that. Go ahead, finish up what you're saying about the baby. That's a great point.
And it goes even further, like, when, because my oldest son was cognitive. So I wasn't trying to make fun of the Asperger thing. To a degree I was. But when we have
Girl, we was lost.
when we have children, with some of these things, we have to make up things so that this gives them that help. Do you know what I'm saying? And so we create these things to help them out, because at one point we didn't have such creations, and this was a mother teacher, you see. And so when we trying to have these field touch and these creative papers and scissors and all of these things, like when Jim and I was talking about speaker games and all of these other things for the creativeness in our children with these conditions and whatnot. These are the things that science was doing at one point, they're still doing now, but again, as parents, right? That's where these creative things came from, philosophically, or whatever we want to call it. I don't want to play down to science on it either, right? But again, as parents, we play an eye to that as well. I just kind of wanted to throw that out. But our children, when we pay attention to that, because that consciousness we pay attention to, because these are the things what they do when children start to learn how to walk. That's that consciousness they've been paying attention to, that awareness. And then we catch them and go, oh, look, they walking. They goes crawling with one leg and walking with one leg. You see what I'm saying? That's that consciousness awareness when they starting to eat, right? Because they're learning. That's consciousness, and all of that. That's that awareness. And all of that is consciousness. I think we just listening to the again, the etymology, right? Because when they put another word on it and characterize it, here we go again, thinking we done did something new, reinventing the wheel, and that's all.
Thank you, Sakina. Thank you, Queen. I want to read this. We're going to stay on this subject. I think we should just. The talk is about consciousness, and let's focus on the heart. We're doing great. I think the stuff that Sakina and Dr. Sweet, Lady Kier, and Jim and I brought up are very, very important points when we're talking about emotion. Consciousness, it's knowing your surroundings, right? So we got that down, like sight, taste, smell, touch, the audio, the hearing. However, the part of consciousness that we talk about with emotion and, sensing someone's vibe, like Gemini was pretty much putting it, that gets a little bit more complex, and then we get into some gray areas. No pun intended. Get it, gray matter, but I know I'm talking about the heart. But we get into some gray areas, and we say, well,
nerd jokes.
Excuse me.
Oh no, I said nerd jokes. Can you just like get it? Gray matter, gray.
Oh yeah,
I got you.
Thank you. Somebody, it's a tough crowd up here. Okay, so all right, so I want to read this about what I was trying to express myself or trying to talk about or elaborate on what we're discussing with the heart. And I was calling it emotional coherence, but I think it's called heart coherence. This is a website you can check out, Heart Math Institute, a nonprofit organization. I hope it's not too pseudo for some of you, but it does go into they talk about some real science, some real facts. Okay, so let's look about coherence. Now, the definition of coherence: clarity of thought, speech, and emotional composure. We're talking about consciousness, right? We're still talking about consciousness, but it's just taking us a little bit further into emotion, thought, how we respond to the stimuli that we sense in our surroundings, right? That we're aware of. The quality of being orderly, consistent, intelligible, coherent sentence, for example. Okay, so the synchronization or entrainment between multiple waveforms. A constructive waveform produced by two or more waves that are phase or frequency locked. This is starting to get good. Order within a singular oscillatory waveform. So order in a singular oscillatory waveform. And by the way, on the island, I see you asking for the link, Kent. I actually know words that I read, and if I don't, you will always see me go look it up. Okay, so I'm always going to be doing that. Many contemporary scientists believe it is the underlying state of our physiological process that determines the quality and stability of the feelings and emotions we experience. The feelings we label as positive actually reflect body states that are coherent, meaning, quote, the regulation of life processes becomes efficient or even optimal, free-flowing and easy, unquote. And the feelings we label as negative, such as anger, anxiety, and frustration, are examples of incoherent states. Now, there's a lot more coconut meat in this coconut, but I just want to pause for a second and go to my sister, the Dr. Too Sweet, the Dr. Too Sweet. I actually was majoring in psychology a while, and then I changed my major. And I remember my professor, she was an awesome psychologist, and she always talked to us about schema and how we process what we pick up, what we're conscious of, and we run it through
a filter.
I'm pointing to my head, but right here we know it comes through the heart as well. Then we say to ourselves, once we bring in that information, we tell ourselves, this is what is happening to me. And then that elicits that fascinating chemical response, the physiological response in our body. I'm getting excited right now, y'all, because it talks about why do we cry? Why do we laugh? What is crying? What is laughing? Why does water come out of my body? Why is there a physiological response to somebody just saying something to me. Why does my blood pressure go up when somebody? So that part of consciousness, I'm throwing it out here. I want to start with you, Doc, too sweet, because
That's good. Yeah.
that's your lane, and then we could just let it, flow out to
Gonna go
Sakina.
on.
Oh, and of course, Coach K, because she's also
Yeah.
in.
Yes,
She's
for
a
sure.
psychotherapist. So go ahead.
Can we call you Lady Kier? Do we have to say Coach K?
You can call me Lady Kier. You know me
I
by
call
that.
her all of
That's
it. I call her Lady Care, Coach K.
fine.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
She like,
fine.
as long as you don't call me late for dinner. No.
yeah.
There you
So,
go.
just to remind you what I'm asking, now we see our consciousness, not just touch, taste, smell, those basics, what we're processing when we take the stimuli in to ourselves, and then we bring it out, and it's called coherence through the heart.
Right.
Talk to
Because pretty much everything that we process is processed through our emotions, whether we're cognizant of it or not. And all of these things are happening at such a rapid speed that it seems almost instinctual sometimes, but there's really a moment that we process, like you said, everything through that schema or that filter. And there's a book that I always recommend to people. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, insert the word at the end. And books like this remind us that we are choosing to give meaning to things, right? They always say sticks and stones, they break your bones, and words, what is it? Sticks and stones, they break my bones, but words will never hurt.
which is not true.
Yeah, no, right. We know words can hurt because we take that in, but they can only hurt if you give it meaning.
Right.
If you place value on what that person is saying. Like if a stranger calls me ugly, I can either accept that and let it hurt my feelings, or I can say, hey, that's a stranger, I don't care. But if my father or someone who means something to me says it, now I might actually consider, like, well, maybe I am ugly because this person, so it just really goes down to the idea of consciousness and what we allow into our consciousness. You really have to build up I want to say a shell, but not in a sense of like you're just ignoring everything, but a shell of self-awareness, let's put it like
Yeah,
that,
that's it.
to where
Yeah,
you're not allowing anything within that shell, even if you hear it or experience it or see it. You're just like, oh well, that's none of my business, and you're going about your day. So it really just comes down to deciding whether you're going to allow something into that shell of self-awareness, or you're going to just stand on who you are and what you are and know that they're just words and they only mean something if you choose to give it meaning.
Wow, thank you. Lady Kier.
I agree. It definitely is a process, even though it seems like these things are happening instantaneously. There is a process to the thought, to the emotion, to your reaction, as you complete those steps in your brain. And I think, in the coherence, connection of things, a lot of people lean more on their emotions without realizing that they've actually thought about how they felt before they felt it. And if we took the time to actually think about how we felt before we reacted to what we were feeling,
Mhm.
Then we'd be able to obviously see things probably through with a lot more clarity and make better decisions. And a lot of people are able to do that. There are people that are totally capable of making that connection and, being able to evaluate self before they move forward in any direction or, regardless of what the decision is. But then there's those people that we already know, as we said earlier, gonna crash out, the firecrackers, because it's immediately, what's felt, it's what's said, it's what's done.
They haven't learned those techniques.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have no self-regulation, or ability to really be able to foresee themselves, in a situation. So yeah, like I said, y'all are definitely bringing a lot of insight to this conversation, and I think it's a conversation that should be had more, when we're talking about, our emotions and, our thought processes. Because I don't think a lot of people take enough time to go internal to themselves. And as y'all was saying earlier, doing that self work, that shadow work, and really going deep enough. And then for those that may have went deep, maybe they didn't go quite as deep as they thought because they're still being triggered or they're still being led in certain situations. So at the end of the day, we want to really, what we're talking about here really is an all inside job. This is, we can
and lifelong.
and lifelong. I think it was Noble Drew Ali that actually made the quote of saying that, if in the questionnaire, I can't remember to totally paraphrase it. I used to be a Moor once upon a time, so I can't paraphrase it. And I ain't got the questionnaire in front of me for exactly what was said, but specifically, he made a quote that was basically along the lines of, if there was anything that I would tell you to study after you think you studied everything, it would be to study yourself some more, because it is
Always.
a lifetime deal. When you think you've mastered yourself, you end up learning more about yourself.
There's another lesson.
Because these lessons don't stop in life. It's continuous, so and we can master a lot of things, which where that real cohesion comes in, with being able to connect with our thoughts and our emotions and our actions together. But until we take the time to really study self, these conversations will forever go on, because I don't think people take enough accountability to do this type of work. And really want to do it, and really dedicate themselves to it. Because I think we've all had our fights with it, and that includes myself. What I'm saying? Even as a person that's in mental health, I was led to it because I went through my own situation and had to find that, real coherence between my thoughts and emotions and actions.
And the best way, they say the best way to learn is to teach. So it's like you being in that role to where now you're the mental health advocate, or, I don't know your specific role. I'm pretty sure that you take things from when you're, helping or advocating for other people. Absolutely. You can apply it to yourself. Sometimes it might be a different situation, but a lot of times lessons are very much universal. So
right. I used to, because I got my certification through a national program that's for abuse and addiction recovery coaches.
Okay.
So one of the biggest things about when you do the work through that program is because you are, number one, healing self first. Unlike when we go to school for psychology and things like that, that's academics, that's book reading, but those students aren't really told to go and study themselves and do the work. So you have a lot of people out here that haven't actually done the work. They did some reading,
and they know the work, but they ain't actually
know the work, but they haven't done it for themselves.
Good point.
So that program definitely taught me one of the main things, because after that, I went on to teach those same classes to other people from my own walk of life. And it keeps me healing. To help others heal keeps me healing.
That's right. That's right.
Come on.
Would you say, Sakina?
Also, we did a show and I hated to say Kabbalah, because I told a story about my walk, right? Because I was in Buddhism, I was in Hinduism, and I said something about Entepi, and how I learned about Hemi's thrice and the universal principles, right? And again, because cosmology came out of Kemet, right? And so the Kemetic people practice this. It's called the principles, right? And so when you walk it like you talk it, it's not a doctrine or a spiritual law, TY, right? It's just the way that you live. And so you might look at the 42, right? Those 42 principles, right? Or you might look into the precepts of Ptahotep. But again, because you're walking this way of life and practicing Mayat, these principles and these universal laws are, again, this practice of self. So again, when me and Gemini talk, or even sometimes Nepal, we're not proving nothing to nobody, because proving them wrong is only proving them right, which science has done, right? Everything is proven that our ancestors said. They're only proving them right. They're not proving them wrong. So
science is catching up.
Exactly. So even with this cosmic egg or seed, right? Everything has blew up, and you're proving what we did in a show that said if you were a planet, you were by yourself, you would be what? An element, a single element, as above, so below, inside and out, a story to tell, one way or another. Because again and again and again, the story has to be told. This is why I love coming over here and listening to the sisters, and I love my sisters dearly.
Amen.
Right? Because I'm an old dog learning new tricks all the time.
Love
right?
you too, boo.
The etymology is always changing. So sometimes it's no Sakina, and sometimes it's yes Sakina, because I'm connecting dots, right?
And that's okay.
You have to have that perspective eye, right? Because sometimes nobody wants to have that vision of this spectrum, because at one point, before Hubble and Webb, the world didn't have glasses. They only saw what they saw. And that's why the ancestors didn't worry about it. But now the world got glasses. They got Hubble, and Hubble went and got Webb.
And she's talking about telescopes, y'all. That's more nerd.
I was about to say, like, my glasses, telescopes now. Like,
now
I know they kind of thick.
glasses, and they can see behind a peripheral and a spectrum.
Yes,
I got you. I got you.
And with that,
and you know, you mentioned we mentioned the ancients and the ancestors quite a few times. One of the things about the slides that I have is for each of those 5 points, there was a connection to the ancients, if I didn't mention that. So like how the Egyptians felt like the heart was where your soul comes from, and that's why when you pass on,
right, you have your ba, your ka, and your ab,
right,
your
and
right, and
they said that you weigh the heart.
I'm gonna land with this. And so if you looked at it from the world, right, you had your atmosphere, your hemisphere, and your aquasphere, right? But somewhere man put his sphere in there, and we're gonna let that be. And I'm gonna be quiet at this point, okay?
The manosphere. Oh my God.
I love you, Sakina. I swear. You so funny.
I love Sakina too. I just want to say shout out to everybody on Vanguard Minds. You asked a question.
Practicing
how long
what?
has a doctor
Practicing what?
been practicing? Wait, no. Hold on. I got this. I'm an expert. What I tell you offline. I got you. I'd like to let you know, Vanguard Minds, that we know a woman on the internet in the community who likes to hide behind avatars and do play. So you ain't hiding from nobody. Hit the panel. Just like, well, we were still waiting for one of the castaways. I think he's using a raft. Kent said he wanted to hit the panel. Kent, I don't know if you're using a raft.
No, he said give him a few minutes. He said give him about
that
30
was 30 minutes ago. Let me do this, Gemini. You can't, Gemini. I'm gonna send you over to the island if you mess around with me. I'm
not the island.
I'm gonna send her straight. Straight We're gonna leave you there. No, I would never leave my sister there. I need her. She's too valuable. So hit the panel. If you don't come in here acting, we could do play. I'm having
Good
fun.
Point, Tara.
Me
too. I'm enjoying this convo.
So anyway, I do want to say this though. See this information that's fascinating about what y'all are talking about with the heart. This might sound like girls together painting our nails like, oh love, what's it all about? But really, we're talking about research that's being done in consciousness, obviously.
Yeah.
This is a scientific conversation for sure.
these are layman. These are I'm looking at Jim. These are layman terms that we're using, but Gemini, Doc Too Sweet, Sakina, myself, Lady Kier, we're really talking about the exciting research being done on consciousness. I want to ask about something like this. Let me throw this out here. So we're talking about the heart, right? When we talk about the heart and we have the heartbeat, the autonomic system where we don't control that part of our body. You got to refresh my. It's in here. It's in this paper anyway. But there's a parasympathetic system, right? So we don't control our lung function, how our lungs breathe. Yes, we take in breath, but we don't control how our heart beats. It's something that our body just does. Can that? I know science says, well, that's not really consciousness, but what do you think? Are they off about that? Will we start to say, okay, that can be considered a type of consciousness? The reason I ask, because if people want to say, and I'm not just talking about my brothers and sisters on the island, on Pseudo Killigan's Island, I mean, like in the conversations, a lot of people say consciousness is just in the brain, right? So if they're going to say that, and that we don't really have any expansion beyond the brain when it comes to consciousness, can we also postulate that possibly the our heart beating, it's a part of ourselves? That's my point. Doesn't our body, when our brain says you got to live, if our brain is telling our heart, I'm being layman, if we get the the nervous system is telling our body beat, our stomach digest food. Can that be argued that that's also consciousness, even though science is saying it's not consciousness, if we're talking about the brain? Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying. I mean, I would argue that one could postulate that is a form of consciousness, right? Because one conversation I've had about humans is the fact that, after conception, the heart doesn't start beating until like 6 weeks, right? And when you pass on and your heartbeat stops, all of that is electrical. And there's a question of, okay, physics says energy cannot be created or destroyed. So when your heartbeat begins at 6 weeks and when it stops after you die, where do those electrical signals or impulses go? Where are they going? And
they're still they are the first law of thermodynamics, right?
It's not it. So we know that it's going somewhere. We just don't know where or how as of yet. So of course, science has a long way to go in that aspect. But the reason I would say that one could postulate that those atomic things in our body that are happening could be consciousness is because we don't necessarily know what was the kickstart. We don't know where it came from to give us that electrical impulse to start our heart, or where it goes when it stops. So we just got to keep searching. I brought up about the quantum field and how some people could say that could be seen as the spiritual realm, so to speak. So I think that there are doctors who are masters in their field who are trying to make that connection as we speak to answer those questions. And I have faith that one day we'll get closer to the answer for sure.
That is a great question. Let me ask really quick. I'm so sorry.
Wait. Let's clear this up about
Goddess, 1 second. I'm not gonna be long. Okay, Vanguard Minds, if you say so. But come on in though. If you have any questions, we'd love to see. I've been sending raft after raft, a rescue ship to the island. No one is coming. We got the Coast Guard is right out in the lagoon, y'all. Come on over. Come on over. Go ahead, Gemini. Thank you for letting me.
Come on over to my place.
That part. Listen, we are talking about, because who can't stop? Listen, Kent was like, no, it's not that. But Kent, it is that, because we're talking about, by definition, consciousness is, right, one of the two things that we're sitting here talking about. Consciousness is, we're not talking about consciousness as in a group of people, right? We're not talking about that type
Is
of
that what he
consciousness.
thought?
We're talking about consciousness as in self-awareness consciousness. We're talking
Right.
about a whole different type of consciousness. So don't,
Talking about mental
confuse.
energy.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't confuse group consciousness. Like we say, we're from the conscious community. We're not sitting here
Uh-oh.
talking about we're from the mental energy community.
See?
That's two different things.
Come on.
Context.
That's what I'm talking about. Do 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 do. Just right back. And
Isn't it crazy how
knowledge.
so when they do brain scans, right, and they're reading the electrical the brainwave patterns and things like that, it's always amazing to me that no one has said or maybe I need to look into it a little bit more, but if we understand that everything is energy, right,
Right.
why is there such a mystery or such like we haven't quite figured out this idea of like mental energy, like brainwaves? Like we're just now kind of getting into, like they just figured out, the different level of brainwaves. But why is there no connection being made to like frequencies as far as like energy and what happens at those energy levels? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
because
and radio waves, frequency and radio waves, which are a real thing,
right.
right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let me share
So
this as we talk. Keep going. I'm just gonna. I want you to read this because we want to
mhm,
make sure that when I play around, I'm playing around. I do love people
right.
and it's fun, but some people get vicious and they want to start, but I'm just joking around. I think it's fun. I think that people actually laugh. If someone was saying me that I was on an island and from a show, I would just be laughing. I wouldn't start trying to, tell them, oh well, you a pig and you miss piggy. I'm just playing around, and I think Kent knows that. I know that Cedric knows that. I talk to everybody, and when I joke around about pseudo Killigan's Island, it's something that I just do for fun, and it's hella funny. So we got to get the
Oh,
comedy in
it's very
here.
funny.
Definitely
So,
hella funny, and it does not
Yeah.
warrant any personal attack. I will say that.
oh
Let
wait,
me
hold
Right.
on.
put that
Now
in.
wait, see how she said it's funny. Let me tell you something about her. You might not know, but she was once ginger, and we saved her. We rescued her.
Not she was ginger.
And her brain,
I'm
her
crying.
mind, just her intelligence level was just like a download from the moon. And now she is here with us in the Visionaries. So she knows what she's talking about. Damn it. Okay, so
That's funny.
Okay,
I
let me
love it.
throw my question in quickly.
I'm just going to throw the law of thermodynamics.
Oh, okay.
To read it.
Okay.
It's not even take.
Wait, who is he calling
Somebody
Miss Piggy? I mean, we all a little thick up here, but
Oh,
let's
okay.
move
Well,
on.
They catch me
I
funny with.
kind of like it like that,
You didn't
Carly.
take it personal. Somebody else did. So Kent, we know you didn't take it personal. So speak for yourself.
No, but this is the thing, though. Let me say this. No. Everybody, let me say this. You could say Miss Piggy if you like, but see, we're fun. We make people laugh. Like we
Right.
poke. Because let me say this. I want to say this. Pseudo killers, they have been calling people pseudos and hurting people's feelings. But I told my sister, Doc, too sweet, a coconut dropped on her head. She was on the island for a second. A coconut dropped on her head. She said, you know what? You're right. I should be happy they call me pseudo. But a lot of people were getting their feelings hurt. I said they did a pseudo killers annual award show. That was hilarious.
I'm on the hand.
Wow.
But
Yes,
what did
sir.
we say though? What did we
What?
say though? People like Nikola Tesla,
Yeah.
Einstein, Planck, all of these people would be labeled
Pseudos.
pseudo by their standard. So if
Right.
I'm in the same category as these people, I'm fine with that because they are the
Let me
names
go
that we
on for you.
remember.
Hold on, I'm on a delay. I'm all the way over here, and I'm in AI land. But you know what? Yeah, if Schrodinger would have come into the room of the pseudo killers and he would say, "Guess what, y'all? You see this box right here? The cat is
dead
alive
and
and
alive.
dead." They would have said, "If you don't get your pseudo behind out of here." So it's okay, but I'm just saying, I laughed when they did the quantum quackery awards. That was so hilarious, but they were making fun of me. And so
All you can do is laugh.
but when I said pseudo killikins back, it was just to match that. It wasn't like vicious. And I'm not gonna leave it alone because I love the professor. You know that Cedric is really on the island. He really
And I
lives
love the
on the
captain,
island.
and I love the captain.
Oh, I know
That's
you
my
love the
dog.
skipper. We already
Yeah,
seen him change.
I
The
love Skipper.
skipper or the captain? Which one?
She loves the
Okay.
skipper. She's
He was
in
the
love with the
skipper.
skipper.
I
Well,
love Skipper.
when
Yeah.
she comes in and the skipper is around, you hear that wah 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 wah. You know the music. Anyway,
That's
so
a daggone shade. That's a shade.
I know my sister Sakina is waiting. So I want Gemini or whoever, Dr. Sweet, read the first law because you're talking about thermodynamics and energy. Read the first law of thermodynamics. I'll blow this up for you so you won't have to strain. Let me
Well,
blow
I
this.
know, I pretty much know it by heart, but I was
No,
just
for
trying
the
to see what
audience.
you had
For the
going up
audience.
there.
I know
Okay,
you
okay.
know, for the audience.
So the first law of thermodynamics is also known as the law of conservation of energy. Asserts that energy within an isolated system is conserved. It states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed or transferred.
And that's all we need.
Um,
That's all we need. Go
yeah,
ahead.
okay. I'm like
Transferred is
getting
huge.
into
That's
Yeah.
a huge word.
So that's what you were
Transferred.
talking about.
Godly.
You were talking about it cannot be
Ugh.
destroyed or so where does it go? All right,
it's going
Sakina was waiting.
somewhere.
Sakina was
So
waiting. Go ahead.
my question was,
Boobies.
so if the consciousness is delayed or dead or um sleep refrained or whatever, withheld in a sleep state, right? Um, and the heart is the only thing beating, right? Um, how does the regular functions keep going um compulsively, right? I'm
Well,
talking about the regular functions like peeing and pooping and what have you.
Say that again.
so if
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No,
No,
she can repeat it again if you want to hear.
no, I wanted you to. I thought she was talking to me, but you answer that. But I
Go
do
ahead.
want to see. I think we're gonna be taking. I really think Kent is about to get on one of them rescue
Right.
boats.
Okay, because let me
Reading Kent's
But you
comment
know what
is
this
looking like
reminds me of,
he's
Navarre?
coming off of Pseudo
You know
Killigan's
what this
Island with that comment.
Yeah, because the silly, because sometimes context is where we fuss at. So Kent is here. It is again. This
He being
reminds me
funny.
of, and I want you to really just get this. This reminds me of when he says this. He says there's nothing special. That is the difference when we sit and say some people marry for love and some people marry for money.
Right.
And some
It's
married for love and money. So
right.
No, but when he said and say, if there's nothing special because sometimes PKs love to sit and say human beings are not special. That's something that they really just expound on all the time. But what I'm saying is that the difference is the disconnect. So when you marry for love, you marry for the frou all these special things and butterflies in your stomach and all these chemicals and magical moments. And then when you marry for money, what time you getting home? Was the bill paid? Uh, I'll be back. There's nothing within that relationship because it's just transactional, right? And so this is where sometimes when they say you're not special, that's the aspect they're coming from because maybe they have not. I mean, and this is just from a human perspective, right? So this is no dig, no pun intended. So maybe when people have not found the right chemistry, since it's always chemicals with them,
Mhm.
when they have not met, when they don't have have not met a person with the right chemistry, they don't get all those feelings, right? Because we can't discount that and say, hey, the reason why they always feel that they're not special human beings and are interconnectedness or our relationships are not special. I'm not going to discount that, but there is something more there. A total disconnect on why they feel like when they look at themselves in the mirror, they're not special. It's just something with that.
I was just about to say that it's the uh self concept that is the issue, because anytime anyone speaks anything out of their mouth, they're speaking out of that schema that Nepal
Yes.
mentioned, right? That their personal filter.
Keep going.
So
You're cooking. Keep cooking. I
for
love it.
someone to
It's a. Oh, go ahead.
have
She dragging.
a mindset such as that, it speaks volume. They end up they end up pouring that out into the world because that is how they see themselves. So I speak a certain way about myself. I carry myself a certain way. It actually offends people who don't see themselves in that type of light, to where they have to double down and like, oh, humans aren't special. If I don't see myself as special, how dare you see yourself as special, right? That's kind of the mentality
That was fresh.
of it. But
Right.
You know what? Turn off your camera for a second, and that might help your
for
lag.
me, I just would hope that people gain a better.
Damn. What's happening?
Oh, that was
here?
it. Somebody else.
That was
No,
just
no.
I
don't know. My
yeah. There was the delay. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
Is my
I
camera
want to call it
on?
self-mastery, because with self-mastery, right,
Yeah.
then you can feed it into yourself, right? Because that's what you're saying. That's what everybody's saying, right? And then you manifest it, right? You speak it into existence, right?
Exactly.
And that's how you empower
And we just
yourself,
went over that.
and then you can empower
Mhm.
others, right? Because if you don't think you're special, that's like when you get fingerprinted. Some people get fingerprinted for badges at work, and if you get fingerprinted in jail, you better hope that you are special, because if your fingerprint matches somebody else's and you just not special, you're going to jail for somebody else. So you need to be hoping that you are special.
That's a good point.
Damn. We're over here cooking. We're blowing
outside the box here, because we are special in our own special way, right? Because
good point,
we are
Keon.
not that other person, right? I don't want to be anything like somebody else. We are a replica of our person. That identity, right, is that dignity, that integrity of all of these things that we supposed to want to be in ourselves. I had did something about I get this word hard, commemorative speeches, right, on tombstones, right? And what are we putting out here? What would they say about you? The monument, the mint, right? These things. Because right now, when you look at yourself or how people see you, right, they really see you today as who you see yourself to be. But if somebody saw you from years past, they know you as your parents' legacy, right? What would they say about you if you had to say this about yourself? Your integrity, your dignity. What do your children say? What can your children stand up and say? Now, I can't be, because once a child gets a certain age, again, but we do the best we can. So again, this is what we are. Are we showing up and showing out, or are we showing out when we show up?
So wait, though. Listen. So and that's and I mean, and seriously, yeah, I think the tombstone, comparison, that was good, because how do you see yourself? What would you want people to say about you in the end, right? And then here lies this unspecial person. The only thing that mattered was the chemicals that it's crazy. You can't sit. I don't
They
want
mixed
that
a
for
lot
you,
of
Ken.
bullshit while they was
Yeah,
here.
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
want you.
excuse my
I don't
French.
want that for you, Ken. I want something. I want your tombstone to read, a whole lot more. But you do have. Oh, go ahead, because I want to ask this one question of you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I thought you were wrapping up, but I just wanted to comment real quick. It's crazy for quote unquote science advocates to say something about us not being special when scientists have a clear understanding of how many things had to come together for you to even be here and be the person that you
Yeah.
are. Like your parents' DNA could have mixed up any type of way, but it mixed up in such a way that you are who you are, and it's the base of who you are, and your environment and your surroundings will kind of add to it and tweak it a little bit. But at the end of the day, there were a whole lot of different chemical reactions that took place for you to be who you are. So I just think it's crazy for someone to say they advocate for science but not understand the brevity of what it took for a person to get here. Like, I don't know.
And that brings me to the next question that I had. So when people walk around disconnected that way, because I do believe that that is a disconnect.
For
Where,
sure.
don't know. I'm not a scientist. I cannot speak to that. But from the human standpoint, there is a disconnect. So do you
Mhm.
think that there is, lots of you know, written, data, maybe, and I'm gonna take it there. Hurt,
Yeah.
pain, grudges, trauma,
Oh
things
yeah.
where people, have totally, and then because it's so ironic because, right, and men do this especially, and I don't want to just point out the men because women will do it too,
Mhm.
disconnected, will go be in an entire relationship disconnected, not really seeing themselves as they should. And so, you know, even with this right here, a lot of things have to come for the answer exist. Yeah, because ants are special too. What are we saying? Every living
Right.
creature that
Yeah, they
we
definitely have a
see
unique
in this
purpose
world
that is
is unique. Not
significant.
even the same leaf on a tree is exactly the same. So you can't use that. Can't again. You have to come into the real world. Step
It's
into
about
a realistic
perception. It's the way
space.
he's perceiving things when he
Yeah,
looks at the
because his
world.
perception, yeah, that perception is this connected or somewhere else, and maybe it could have been that way for a very long time.
Yeah, we
But
are majority of us on this panel, or all of us have children, but there's no way you can't tell us each individual one of our children ain't special just because we all got kids. That doesn't mean my kid
Right.
ain't special because everybody in the world has some children. And my children are still gonna be special to me because that's the perspective that I see. So it
Right.
doesn't matter what anyone
Because
else
you're
thinks.
connected.
yeah,
You're connected to
Exactly.
them. And again, the whole point about how science has caused us to compartmentalize everything, that is
yeah,
also part of the
perfect.
reason there is a disconnect, because instead of seeing everything as connected and as one whole, we're looking like, oh, this is that, and this is over here, and this goes over here. But at the end of the day, we are the ones who are making these differentiations and distinguishing one thing from the other,
Right.
when at the end of the day, it's all connected. I mean, I talk a lot, and I'm gonna go there. I talk a lot about psychedelics, right? Because scientifically, they have studied that people who take psychedelics have a common theme is they start to understand the interconnectedness of everything in life, right? The illusion of separation starts to fall away, and science is still trying to figure it out. But the ancients, I have a book called The Cosmic Serpent, and this book opened my eyes even more than they already were. But it talks about how the ancients, they took these sacred plants to connect to what they thought was the spiritual world. This is how they connected to their gods. This is how they gained insight. This is how they learned different things. And the European researchers would come in, and they're trying to empirically like figure out like, how do these people know certain things, like how do they know this when they live in a jungle somewhere cut off from civilization, but yet they have these scientific insights that they should not have. So it just it made me realize that when we try to separate everything, we are further disconnecting ourselves. The
Yeah.
more that we recognize that everything is connected, like again with quantum physics, they're now looking at quantum entanglement and string theory and all these other ideas of how everything in the universe is connected. And I'll say it 1,000 times, science is trying to catch up, but some of our ancient ancestors, they had this knowledge, and
Exactly.
we can't explain how they got it or even fully comprehend what it is, but I think we're trying, and I really do hope that we get closer and closer, because it's so much more to be understood, man.
Well, when you're done with with your journey and your path, you will be, part of the whole, sharing your part of knowledge and understanding and wisdom and science. Because again, I like to push things a little forward, so I know what their contributions were. There's still contributions to be made, and that's where
Right.
my kids, my grandkids will be picking up the ball. Pretty soon they'll be talking a little bit less about all the old heads and more about some of the newer people. Why? Because
The
it's
new,
relatable,
yeah,
it's in real time. And we have to
yeah,
start, stop thinking that everything that we do, is just irrelevant and pointless and this and that. No,
unnecessary.
no,
Yeah, no, it's very
exactly.
necessary. It's very
You have a
necessary.
daughter, you have a son, they may end up being the next Carl Jung, the next, planet, the next who,
Max Planck, yeah.
because that seed is already, planted. It just needs to grow. And as and as anything grows, it becomes a part of history. When
Right.
you sit here and make, big strides and you gain that traction, you gain that notoriety, it becomes even bigger. People make that happen, right? People who believe
Yes.
in what you believe in, people who sit and say, okay, those ideas are sound. We want to hear more. What is your hypothesis? Give me some theories.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's go.
We gotta encourage them.
Yeah, and so I love this conversation here, because I love to hear a newer person in this generation in real time talk about science and make it make sense today. Because I'm one of
Yeah.
those people too that I won't throw out the baby with the bathwater, but I need for you
Same.
to make it sense to me right here, right now,
Right
today.
now.
Let's go.
Yeah. It has to be practical for sure.
Has to
And
be.
I've talked about that a lot of times, where I might be mentoring a group of youth, and I'm listening to them, taking feedback, and how can help me help you, basically. And the biggest thing is like, okay, if my mom is working 2 jobs just to put food on the table, I don't care about some of the stuff that y'all talking about, because all I could think about is how we gonna eat, right? So if you make it practical, and like I will put it in a way, well, think about it like this. Maybe if you go into this STEM program, and we have your brilliant mind to discover something new and innovative, you could help all single moms all over the world. I try to put it to them like that. Like, they have to kind of think
Ingenuity.
of it, right. They have to think about it in terms of the long game, because we in the microwave
Yes.
generation. We want
Right.
everything right now, but it's like the people who were the innovators of old, or the Renaissance men, they played the long game. It took them time to develop their wisdom and their knowledge and their skill set. And that's another thing that we have to push to the young people, is that you gotta be patient and know that your hard work is going to pay off at some point.
It's gonna pay off. It is. And
Yeah.
we'll be flipping through those books and we'll be sitting here saying, hey, that's Dr. Too Sweet's discovery. You know what? She
I love
put
it.
together
Speak it.
the old and brought it up to, and brought it up to the new. And now we're sitting here looking at this. My kids are reading this. There was a friend of mine whose daughter went off to college. My kids were small at that time. And she was like, my daughter's going to be studying to do this, that, and the third. And I said, you know what? Tell your daughter, make sure she get all A's, be spectacular. Why? Because my kids will need her. Right? My kids will need your daughter. So
Right,
your
for
kids
sure.
go to school, right? They do all these amazing things. That is gonna be great for the generations to come. And that's why it's important to, keep this going, keep these type of conversations going, keep people in their practice, keep your practice of information going. So with Lady Kier, keeping these things, in proper perspective today, because they become real for who? Not just us, but for those who are under us. And they have to have the relevant information that is going to help in real time, So
and they want to see it from people that look like them too. That's another thing is, especially going into psychology. There's a book called Even the Rat Was White, where they talk about how a lot of the scientific studies and things that they've done, it's tailored towards Europeans. It's not tailored toward us. And a lot of times, we have different socioeconomic needs that require a different perspective, so to speak. So I'm always encouraging people who look like us to go into any type of science, STEM, even if it's a social science, because we so desperately need our own
representation.
Yes, that yes.
Ladies, I don't mean that. Yes. I love I love what you're doing. I want to go back to the paper. This isn't the only group of scientists that are doing the research on consciousness and looking at out of body experiences, also known as astral projection, near death experiences.
NDE.
But I will be showing this whenever I get some. It's strange how people come in and they pretend, oh, I didn't know anything about it. I wanted to just ask a question. Like I said, we know there's some people on the internet who like to play hide and seek and dress up and pretend, and they come in and pretend they're people that they're not because they're scared to actually. Ken has. No, I'm not talking about Ken. Somebody's in the chat trying to troll, talking about you heard that the sister has had an out of body experience. When I showed you the information about Morgellons as an example, for years, decades, they told those people, oh, you're so funny. Yeah, there's spiders crawling all over you. You've even seen it in movies sometimes. Remember, like, you've seen people like, I have imaginary spiders. Now they know that those aren't imaginary spiders. It's an actual condition, a skin condition. And there's actually people who are hypersensitive to things in the environment. Again, barium, heavy metals like aluminum that are being sprayed in chemtrails. They're coming out of people's skin. So the CDC acknowledges Morgellons, where once upon a time they thought it was funny, but once the scientists had to take it seriously and do the research, now it's not so funny. Now I want you to compare that to out-of-body experiences, aka astral projection, near-death experiences. So here's a division. I'm still waiting for them on the island to address the division of perception at the University of Virginia. I want to take a look at I want to show you something in this school. If you look at the doctors here, these are, which would have been dope, but these are not metapsychologists. These aren't doctors of metaphysical science. These are psychiatrists, neurologists. They are doctors of medicine. This is mainstream science. This is a university in Virginia. It's my niece's alma mater, actually. I want to click here and show you the DLPS research. Now, here it is to the people who think it's fun and play dress up. And we don't, when you know how your kid dresses up and you say, you pretend you don't know who your kid is. And I don't know who you are. Oh, Vanguard. I don't know who you could possibly be. So I want you to address, once again, in all seriousness, address this information where there is research done on what? This is the neuroscience. If you can read this, let me blow it up. The neuroscience, let me blow it up for you. The neuroscience of psi. Let's click on that. Let me see if you'll be able to see when I click on it. Does it change? Yes. This particular, well, he's the head of the lab. He's the director of the lab. Let's read this real quick. Bear with me. Neuroimaging studies of psi. They're psychophysiological studies of psi and altered states. People sometimes report spontaneous experiences such as precognitive dreams or telepathic impressions. Others think they can generate some phenomena at will. Psi or psychic phenomena refers to these apparently anomalous interactions between individuals and the environment. Now, they're researching extrasensory perception, psychokinesis. Let's scroll down. What does this say right here in bold? Out of body experiences. This is being
and you know where this came from. Sorry not to cut you off. A lot of this research started with the CIA. Just a little tidbit there.
We need to do our next build. We got to come in here and talk about all of that with the psychedelics and all the. Oh, but let me take it back before the CIA. If you want to do this, let's go all the way back to Project Paperclip. Let's talk about what they were doing over there in Nazi Germany. Okay, all these experiments, and we could keep taking it back and back. We'll end up right back in
heavily in it because they had eugenics. They were doing some of. I mean, they were experimenting so they had to believe in it in order to even say, "Hey, you know what? I want to test this thing." Yeah, and let's run all these tests on random people. Not so much, you know.
Thank you. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, finish your statement.
No, go ahead. It's just interesting altogether that, you know, because you can even take it on there's another channel where you have, you know, tens of thousands of people who talk about this all the time. So you cannot sit here and say that, you know, these type of things, near-death experiences and et cetera, does not exist. It happens to too many people all over this world for it not to be a thing.
Thank you so much for that, Gemini. I want to go back into showing them this. Dr. David Acunza, he's the lab director. Let's see what he's doing in the lab. Let's go on down here. It's called the Ray Westfall Neuroimaging Laboratory. I heard that y'all are fixing the boat up and trying to get the SS Minnow to Baltimore to try to groupie and see if Neil deGrasse Tyson will wait. So if you're going to do that, why don't y'all take the ship over, see if you can get the boat or get over to Virginia and see if you can go interview some of these people. And they would never go near this school, university, because it would break their cognitive dissonance. It would break their whole psyche because they're involved in scientism. It's a belief now. Because I know I'm going off. I want to get back to reading this. They say, "Oh, you're having an existential crisis, and that's why you don't want to believe that we." Why do you want to believe that your energy, which we just showed you, science said that Kent, our friend Kent, was like, "Well, you know, you're giving off heat. You know, when you want to cuddle up, and that's what it's talking about. You're giving off heat." No, Kent. Yeah. We're talking about the actual electricity in our brains, in our bodies. We're talking about the energy in our bodies. But I'm almost done with this, and then we can hold that thought. At Ray Westfall Neuroimaging Laboratory, the University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies established the Ray Westfall Neuroimaging Laboratory in 2008 under the co-direction of Dr. Edward Kelly. They're not over here praying and throwing, holy water or cockle shells like we do, in spirituality. They're actually using neuroimaging. They're using high-tech equipment to study this. We got Dr. Edward Kelly, PhD. He's the co-director of the lab. And then we've got Ross Dunseith, PhD. He is the co-director of the neuroimaging lab. Both of them, they both co-direct. Now look at this. This facility is state-of-the-art neuroscientific research facility with electromagnetically and acoustically shielded chamber and allowing the concurrent recording of multi-channel electroencephalography encephalography. And when I messed that up before, I was like, that they're actually doing a readout of what's going on in your head. See, I can say the word because I know what it means, and vice versa. Encephalography, electroencephalography. Right. So they're doing the EEG. My point is, when they were over on the island reading that paper about OBEs and about the electrical stem and how it elicited a reaction from the woman, and she had an OBE, an out-of-body experience. Duh. This is the research that's being done on out-of-body experiences, astral projection, whatever you want to call it. So how can riddle me this? I'm gonna stop. I let you see this. So we just killed the killers, the pseudo killers. I want to ask you a question. If it's pseudo, then why are scientists at a university in the United States studying it? If it's pseudo.
Because it's not pseudo. Science just has to catch up. And again, I tell everybody I'm a scientist first because, obviously proof and evidence is important if you're trying to convince someone of something. However, it's the fact that things like this are almost kept under wraps until they have, maybe 50 scientists who agree or something like that. It could be innovative, it could be accurate, it could be, progressive and all of these things, but there's this thing called peer review, which again is necessary, but it also hinders a lot of people who would probably make leaps and bounds in certain areas if they weren't so afraid of being rejected by their peers or laughed at or considered quote unquote pseudo, right? But again, as I mentioned, there was a time where people like Tesla and Einstein and even Newton would have been considered pseudo because people they didn't understand what they were talking about yet. It was new. It was something that hadn't been done yet. So I'm glad that you brought up these studies because it makes that connection to show people that somebody ringtone. Oh, they're killing it again. I'm crying.
What the freaking heck? What are we? Wait a minute. Who's playing that music?
That's Sakina.
Is that in the chat? That must be because. Oh shoot! Hold on. The weather's getting rough over there. I can't do this, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
I'm crying.
I have no idea. That must be because Kids is over here.
Kids, right. I was so confused.
I got a question or 8.
Go ahead.
Did y'all hear that or was that me? Was it in my head?
No, we heard it.
Oh, okay. So
I almost started singing the lyrics.
Wow, Kent, y'all are over. He said we're gonna respond. You're gonna respond where? Where are you gonna respond? Well, you asked for the link.
Yeah, what is he talking about?
Told you, Gemini. Told you he was Cap 10. No, he said hit the link. Respond here. You asked for the link. We're all
and then stop talking in a third party. What you mean we when you here?
Right, it's just you.
No, I mean, come on now, come on. It's late, and I get agitated and irritated. I get irritated. Right. It's gonna be a wrap. So I'm kid. If you trying to come in, bro, dang, just do it.
So Joshua in the comments said because they want to understand why people are experiencing something. This is the scientific process. How does this prove anything? Number one, science isn't really concerned with the why. They're just looking for the how. The why is the metaphysical part,
the philosophical
in a lot
part,
of right in many aspects, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to understand it more than anything. So I think that what he's saying is actually not true, and it's not about proving anything. What Nepal, I think, is just stressing is the fact that a lot of things that some people claim are pseudo are actually being studied on a very high academic level. Therefore, they can't be pseudo. Otherwise, they wouldn't be studying it in the way that they are.
Oh wow! I know our Queen Sakina's coming in.
Yes, that part.
She's ready. And
yes, because I want to piggyback and give y'all some good stemming off of that, because one was Dr. Too Sweet with the lady breath, right? They used that lady breath. Well, you called it the rat in
The white rat.
Oh, even the rat was white.
right, the white rat. They used that. Somebody called it the survivor thing, right? And so when they put them rats in that box trying to look for cheese, right? That's the survivor skill test, right? But also that's that lady breath, that maze, right? And you use that to make that maze.
Oh, the labyrinth. I was like,
right,
okay.
there you go. And so that's that, right? And that rat to get out that box to find its way in the maze. That's that same maze that you find yourself in, or the cornfield, and that the same thing for us in life. That's the same thing, right? Survivor skills, okay. And then also, Nepal, you did a thing once back about teaching in your sleep. Where they was teaching teaching in your sleep. I forgot what it was, but they were teaching in their sleep, and it reminded me of how the Chinese was teaching these kids how to count and do math and big numbers by using their hands on their desk, and they were calculating, right? But again, this was learning by subconscious learning. You did a video on it, right? And so again, these are the same things in the subconscious learning, and these same tools. This was an ancient practice one way or another, but again, it's subconscious learning. And so this wasn't in my time, it's more in Gemini's time, but again, we were learning how to, because you said it, Gemini, when we were y'all was going to school and you was learning how with your headphones, and you was learning how to do things, and even if you fell asleep, you remembered that lesson when you woke up and went to school. That's subconscious learning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
your subconscious is very powerful.
Exactly. So that all of that, when y'all was just talking, all of that put that in my mind at one time. So I just want to give y'all kudos for that, because again, that's that subconscious learning, and this is what we're talking about right now. So all of that,
and you know,
goes into that. So again, y'all.
I talked about hypnotherapy before. I misspoke and kind of got it mixed up with past life regression, which is it's similar, but it's like different methods, or not different methods. It's one is considered quote unquote pseudo, and the other one is considered scientific, right? So hypnotherapy, all they're doing is digging into your subconscious. There's a trained hypnotherapist who can guide you into the inner recesses of your mind to either access something, to heal you from something, to bring something to your conscious mind. And in past life regression, the same methods are used, because you have to go into the subconscious. But the reason people call it pseudo, obviously, is because it purports to substantiate reincarnation, which is obviously beyond science at this point. But again, the same methods are used. It's about digging into your subconscious, because that is where, if I'm not mistaken, it's 80+% of everything that you digest, through your senses, it is retained in your subconscious mind. And I don't think people understand how powerful that part of your mind is, but that's where the idea of like speaking things into existence and that imagery when you're meditating, all of that is coming from your subconscious mind.
Rap music. Come on.
Okay. Right, because we also have this one thing where we say, if somebody's been in a coma for 3 months or so, right, and they come back out of this coma, and they might can tell you all the people that came to visit, all the people that talked to them.
Oh yeah,
X, Y, and Z.
Oh yeah,
in the subconscious mind, right?
For sure.
We've had stories and stories and stories about people that had near-death, what Nepal talking about, the near-death experience, right? We've had people that have a disease or sickness or something where they actually die for a few minutes and come back. They didn't know this was a sickness or something until a few years later, right?
And there's stories of people having experiences like that. I was watching a story about a man who he had a traumatic brain injury and went into a coma. When he came out of that coma, this man was like he had never played any instrument in his life. He came out of that coma playing classical piano like he had been playing piano his entire life. And doctors still to this day cannot explain what happened or how. And there's so many stories like that to where it's considered fringe, and some people might even call it pseudo, but these are just the things that science does not have an answer for. So they just put it in this box called anomaly, and they try to ignore it and make it seem like it didn't happen, but there's actually scientific research to show that this is a real thing that happens. So
let me I just want to do this real quick. Excuse me, Queen.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Also, heart transplant recipients are doing the same thing. They are changing their desires, their likes, their dislikes.
Oh yeah,
they're learning. They pick up instruments that the person who had the heart before them did. So, and no one. When you said that about people are just brushing, I get what you're saying. Like remember I said update. That was back in like late 90s. Science is no longer saying it's pseudoscience. I want to put this up here.
Right.
I know I'm going to let you go again, Sakina, but I got to address this because you're not going to do this, my friend. Kent, you said it's pseudoscience. We want to help you because I know you're in the church of. Now I'm saying church. I'm going to take that back because that's offensive. Forgive me. You're on the island. See, I'm going to keep it nice, keep it cute. You're on the island, but we're going to help you with the definition of pseudoscience, and then we're going to see if what we've been talking about is students. I've shown the University of Virginia. I'd like to show that, but
he's ignoring it.
Michio Kaku is a Nobel Prize winner, quantum theorist. He says that there are other worlds existing instead of several infinite worlds. String theory. You would call that pseudo because that's what you've been taught to say on the island. Let's see the definition of pseudoscience, and then let's see if what we've been talking about tonight and all the information we've been showing from mainstream science, let's see if this is a pseudoscience, because we want to source up over here on the mainland. And we're so glad you're here on the mainland. I've seen you talking sideways, but we love the love from the island. I really do. I mean, it's all love. Pseudoscience refers to beliefs. We haven't talked about beliefs specifically. We're expounding. That's what's confusing you. We are being real scientists. We're visionaries. We're looking further beyond just the island. Okay? Pseudoscience refers to beliefs, statements, or practices that claim to be scientific but lack the rigorous methodology and evidence required by scientific community. We are not lacking any type of scientific methodology. You know why? Because the research is there. They're using empirical data to figure these things out. We showed you the University of Virginia. You read the okay, y'all you're bringing it out of me.
No, you're good. You're good.
I gotta take a minute and look at them. You read the paper. I'm gonna say it over and over, Kent. Y'all read the paper on out-of-body experiences. I gotta keep saying it. You pulled up a paper on out-of-body experiences that scientists took a person in the lab and did research on them. How can that be pseudoscience if science is actually conducting the research? You would call, I guess astrobiology is pseudoscience. We haven't yet found intelligent life. I guess all of this information that we're getting from when we have astrobiologists saying, well, we can see, I can't fully explain it because I'm not well versed, but I'm
the spectroscopy. They can
yes.
look at a planet. Mm-hmm. Go
Don't
ahead.
keep no say it because I'm
Oh,
gonna.
so through the spectroscopy, they can look at what chemical compounds are on a planet or a distant star, and they can determine through the chemical compounds, oh, this is organic life or not. And
Hold on,
you
hold on.
know,
Wait. No, stay there.
mhm.
So have they confirmed that there's organic life, or they're still researching it? They
Still
haven't confirmed.
researching,
Hold on. So
right?
they're still researching it in what? In pseudoscience or mainstream science?
Oh, mainstream for sure.
Okay, so
Scientists like, mm-hmm,
because this is how ignorant they. I'm sorry, this is how ignorant they
mm-hmm,
are. If it
yeah.
hasn't been confirmed, they run around pseudoscience.
Yeah, but
So,
you know what? It's
but
so
that's funny
interesting.
though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I
Oh,
want you to
I,
finish
I
and
was
cut you off about spectroscopy. Have they
um,
found intelligent organic life 100% on these other planets? They haven't, right?
not yet,
Is it still
but they're looking
is it mainstream science?
for sure.
Okay, so stay with me because I want you to
Mm-hmm,
go on over to OBEs, out of body experiences,
mm-hmm,
NDEs. Do we have real? I showed you neuroscientists. I showed you MDs, psychiatrists, psychologists, universities in America. Are
mm-hmm.
real so-called acceptable scientists to the pseudo killers? Are they doing the research on out of body experiences?
Clearly, they're not, because anyone like the fact that you can
No,
pull
no,
up a
no, they are.
paper.
No, you misunderstood me. Wait a minute. Are
Oh,
the scientists doing the studies on
oh, the
OBE?
scientists. Oh, for sure.
Okay,
For
now go
sure.
ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. The fact that they can even pull up a paper. If you can go, like if I can go to an academic source and I can pull up a paper on
Thank
this
you.
subject, that means there are scientists who are seriously doing the work on this. And it takes so Sakina might remember, and I know I talked to you a little bit about it too, Nepal, about that movie Contact. I referenced that movie a lot because the scientists in that movie had the same existential problem that a lot of these quote unquote pseudo killers have, is they're practicing scientism, and it keeps them from considering things that might be beyond their frame of reference, right?
right.
And
Yeah,
it's like unless I have this anecdotal experience, then anybody else who says that they had this experience, it got to be not telling the truth, until they maybe do one day have an experience, but they can't convey that to anybody else. So now it's like, okay, well, how do I turn this into science? But I think it's just a reminder that, again, science has its limits, and it's only gonna give us so much with the way that, science works, because the whole repeatable, testable, falsifiable, all of those things are well and good, but how do you falsify something that is considered outside of physics? Like, it's like, what do
right,
you do?
Right. Look at this.
right.
I want to show you something. Look at this, please. I guess I just got to act like I'm on the island and just Google it. Ask Chat GPT. I don't know why I didn't do this in the
Right.
first place.
That's what
I'm
they
not on
do.
the island. I'm in the mainland. But let me act like I'm on the island. I put this
Mm-hmm.
into Google. This is the only way they can understand it. I put this into, actually it's not Google, but I sent this through the like what they do, just a quick Google or through AI Chat
Right.
GPT. Is the study of out of body experiences being researched by neuroscientists? Neuroscientists
100%.
are researching out of body experiences. Neuroscientists are researching out of body experiences and their neurological and neuroscientific mechanisms. Recent studies suggest that OBEs may be the result of disturbed bodily. Look, this is what you guys want to hear: disturbed bodily multisensory integration in the right temporal parietal, not Temodoro. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
that was that word, right?
Arrivederci.
And it's the temporal parietal cortex, y'all. But what does it say? Look, you know what they'll say? See, Timodoro particio. No, the point is they're not sure. They're doing the research, so you can't go around and say pseudoscience. You can't do that anymore.
it's almost like an appeal to majority. It's like if 80% of scientists aren't agreeing to this, then we're gonna call it pseudoscience. But again, there are people who are innovative in their field and have ingenuity enough to say, no, you might think that this is fringe or pseudo, but we're gonna actually take the next step and test it and try to figure out whether it is actually pseudo, instead of just slapping a label on it and just putting it to the side. Because had a lot of remember how we said a lot of things that we take for granted were once considered science fiction. There was a time where in the 1800s, if you had told somebody, hey, you're going to be able to warm up your food in 30 seconds, they would have looked at you like you're crazy. But
Yep.
we ended up having microwaves, and now we have ovens, and it's like this whole progress of things that happen. So for anybody who claims to be a science advocate, you would think that they would have a more open mind about science, but
No, they can't, because
Yeah,
they
it's
like
keeping
to
them
say what they see now. Go ahead,
kind of
Jamari.
stuck in the past. Yeah, it's
like you said,
it's a real thing. When science keeps you going backwards instead of forwards, because science is a little bit of both. You going backwards because you are scaffolding on the information, right? And that helps it, that helps bring it forward,
full circle.
so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
have to, yeah, it makes you constantly have to update your information. You have
Right.
to, because time is going forward. There's new innovations, new things, new ways of looking at things, new viewpoints. There's more people also too entering into the field of science. So you have, some of the older things dying out. Why? So that the newer things can take place. Why? Because you have to keep up with, there's so many things happening. And I was going to sit and say about the out of body experience. It has, a lot to do, right, with sleep. Or are we saying these out of body experiences are just when people are sleeping? Because
No, no, let
No.
me say this, Gemini. Excuse me, Doc. This is the thing.
Mhm.
If we came in and said, well, see, out of body experiences are like when you go into your third heaven, and that would be pseudoscience. We're not
Right.
saying that. We've never said that. They're totally dismissing it, saying, "Oh, it's not even real." We know all. This is what the professor says on Gilligan's Island. He tries to say we figured it out already. That is what I can't stand about
It's
Cedric.
dishonest.
It's
Yeah,
so
it's dishonest.
yeah,
dishonest.
because you know what I was gonna say. I had a cousin who would always say, I never had dreams. I never dreamed dreams. I don't even know what people are even talking about when they talk about these things, because it never
Mm.
happens to me. And we were good and grown, and she would always say this. But then that's one spectrum, far end spectrum. But then on the other side of the far end spectrum, you're having people who are literally saying, hey, when I go to sleep, I can literally feel myself leaving
Mm.
my body,
Oh yeah. Oh
in
yeah.
these things.
Lucid
So
dreaming. Hmm.
yeah, when you're dreaming, so you have these, far left, far right, type of things. They both exist. Why? Because we're all in the same, and we're all here in reality, sharing this existence together. So you can't dismiss one thing that one person, or these people may say here on the far left, because on the far right you may have a different extreme type of understanding about life and things, but they both coexist together, so
Right.
you
And this
can't
is why
separate it.
I always say that I will entertain the most fringe ideas. I will lend my ear to it just so I can make an informed decision. I'm not going to close my eyes, ears, and mind to something just because I might disagree with it or think that it's crazy, because at the end of the day, like you said, like we're all in this universe existing, coexisting together. So there might be something on that other side of the fence that I need to hear to bring my understanding of things full circle, right? It might be that epiphany or that aha moment from something that I was never going to entertain. So I think a huge part of being a scientist in general is having an open mind. Scientists keep open minds. They don't shut things off because it seems fringe or out there, right? It's like, okay, if I think it's fringe, let me first take some time to research it, do some tests, see if I could, figure something out about this. That's what a scientist does. A scientist doesn't practice scientism, they practice science.
Well, I was actually in a car accident, and I actually I flipped my car over and I severed three arteries in my forehead.
God.
And I actually saw, like, the next day. I saw it was almost like a camera flash of the next day, like, and it was weird. And it showed like that, and it kind of like pixelated away. And then the next day, the exact thing happened. My daughter was outside playing in this grass, and it was just crazy. So, like, now a person would say, "Well, no, you were just what was I doing then? Was I predicting the future?" And so, so my thing is, I think that there are things in this earth that are just uncounted for and misunderstood. We have not figured everything out in science, and so to call things that are just a mystery or just not scientific, they haven't done enough scientific thing to figure it out, does not mean that it does not exist, or it's pseudo, or it's like fake. There's a thing called inner dialogue that people have. Some people, when they listen, like read a book, right? Some people read it from the inside. Some people have to say it out loud. Some people, but that exists, that inner speaking to yourself, and you hear, and some people even hear voices telling them certain stuff, but some people just don't have that inner dialogue, right? So are those people also pseudo too as well? Whatever their experience.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely not. And thank you for that. I think number one, the word is thrown around way too much, and in the real scientific community, like if you went to a conference full of scientists, right? I can almost guarantee you, no one in that room is going to use the word pseudo. No one's going to say that, because they're looking for the new, they're looking for the innovative, they're looking for, okay, what haven't we discovered yet? What can we study that we haven't studied yet? So it just, I guess it depends on the room you're in, and what that word is going to mean. But I'm happy to have anyone who dares to step outside of the comfort zones of modern scientists or what the consensus says. Like, those are the people that we need to stand behind.
And we're visionaries. Remember, we're going to keep on pushing that. I'm going to keep on. I'd like to have more. I saw you, beautiful, our sister Latoya Ma'at. She's another visionary. We're going to have more panels talking about this. Maybe next time they can get over here from the island to the mainland and join the panel. Kent, when y'all ask the questions, go ahead.
No, because we already addressed this. I already said that the past life regression part is the part that is considered pseudoscience because it is not empirical, but the hypnotherapy, which uses the same methods to dig into your subconscious, is very scientific. So we can move past that. This is not about saying past life regression is not considered pseudoscience, even though science can explain how these people remember these lives.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, I have to help you out. And I disagree on that point. The hypnotherapy is actually, Dr. Jim Tucker is finding that can be considered not even pseudoscience. So stop. Mm-hmm. It could be something when we're looking at psychology or psychiatry and psychology, the person, it may not be valid empirical evidence. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not pseudoscience. So I agree. I don't disagree. But we're talking about, he asked a question. Ask your Google. No, that's your Google. This is your God I've been asking up in here. But I get ask the almighty Google if past life regression is a pseudoscience and share your screen. Oh, I'd be more than happy. But what's crazy is your cognitive dissonance. As Paul said, the scales in your eyes. I've been showing you. The University of Virginia, my friend. Let me read this to you again so you can understand. I asked, is past life studies mainstream research? Is it mainstream research done in the U.S.? The answer of the almighty God of the pseudo Killigans Island Past life studies are conducted in the U.S. Let's keep going. Children who reported memories of past lives. Since 1967, the small division of the University of Virginia is doing the research. Academic studies on claimed past life memories. Should we keep going? Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia. Now, here it is again. Children who have reported past life memories. What am I doing? I'm tying it back together, letting you know that if we are doing, there's empirical data being gathered on past lives. Children are being, they're doing the research. Children are saying, 3-year-olds are saying, I used to be a fisherman in Turkey. And
or a fighter pilot in World War II.
In World War II, that's one of the most famous ones. They go and they find out specific details, not like, oh, that could maybe. They weigh it out with the statistics scientifically, and they found that is factual, empirical data. Stop, Kent, please. I want you to take one of those coconuts from the lab and take it and bang your head on it, and the professor, tell him, Professor, I'm waking up. I'm going to say it again to you. Past life regression is linked to the empirical data and the studies and the research done at the University of Virginia. Am I saying that we have it figured out? No, we don't know why. We don't know. We're still, the jury is still out, but you cannot call it pseudoscience anymore. Now, mind you, if somebody sits and tells somebody, okay, I'm here, I see your grandmother, and I'm not being funny, if they're sitting there and telling them stuff, that's not science. Does it work? Heck yeah, it works. But it's not science. So going to somebody and asking them, can you tell me my past life? That's not science. It's not mainstream science. It's metaphysical science. However, I'm driving it home, y'all. I'm sorry. I know y'all, I'm trying to drive it home.
No, you're good. You're good.
Not pseudoscience anymore. Let it go.
Well, this is why I have to. I kept stressing the hypnotherapy part, because in the scientific community, hypnotherapy is more accepted than the idea of past life regression, because there's no way to empirically test for that in the way that science wants. But the hypnotherapy part is just us. It's a licensed practitioner putting you under to access your subconscious. That's literally the basis of what it is. So, but I get what he's trying to do, and I see what you're doing to counter that, and I appreciate it, because
and you know what, and I appreciate you, because guess what? We're up here with visionaries. We're not playing with people. What you just said. There are things that are not scientific, but they still work, and so we're not pushing that. You're trying to make people think we're pushing stuff that I know is real dope. I'll reach your palm in a second. I'll reach you up and down and make you turn like as white as a sheet, Kent. You're very beautiful, chocolatey. I will turn you white as a sheet. And you'll say, how did she know that? But I'm not talking about all that. That mama D, what's the Mama D or the Princess and the Frog? I'm talking about mainstream science researching near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, reincarnation, because it all links back to the study of consciousness. That's all.
And the transfer of consciousness. Remember, because energy is neither created or destroyed. So the idea that it's transferred is really not that far-fetched.
Can I just say,
hold on, Genesis, and then throw in there too the energetic impressions, right? Because they also,
you
know, you got to throw that in there too.
Right. So I wanted to show something real quick. So what happens is that when you just ask AI a question, right? You have to ask it a certain way to get the certain answer out. Because if you just ask a question, they're just going to go into a database and find the closest articles based on that thing. But it's really about proving the point. Can you bring up my page?
Yeah. What are you bringing up though? Before, because Sonetta told me to ask before you bring it up.
Right, so I'm gonna break down metaphysics and then pseudoscience, right? And I'm going to show that metaphysics itself is not then how could it be pseudo? You know what I'm saying? Would it be pseudoscience? You know what I'm saying? So no, metaphysics is not. So I said, is metaphysics pseudoscience? No, metaphysics is generally not considered pseudoscience, right? And then it goes on to explain more. So it's past life regression metaphysics. So the next question would be, well, how could past life regression be a part of something that's not science, but yet be considered pseudoscience?
Right, and I hear you, thank you, because you're a visionary as well. But I give it to them when we're talking about on a scientific level. When they're saying pseudoscience, they are referring to something that is based on metaphysics. Really leans more toward philosophy, if you really think about it. So, and philosophy is definitely considered one of some people say arts are one of the sciences. It's an argument out there. Do what you will with it. Philosophy is definitely respected. And I mean, come on. They want to play around with Doc Too Sweet's bachelor's of science degree. So I guess Max Planck is just a philosopher since he has a PhD. I guess I guess he's not a scientist. He's just a philosopher. See, we could do that. So yeah, I appreciate you offering that information. No,
and the whole thing about it is,
you ask that question directly, you're going to get a yes. It's considered pseudoscience. If you just ask that question alone. But I believe that the way that you have to approach AI is to get the correct information. Then the study's going to come up that proves it the other way. So if you just ask that question, it's going to say yes. It's going to yes. The AI, sir, is going to stop asking that over and over.
Let me throw this in here right quick because honestly, in my thought process is not a belief. My thought process is this is where astrology and astronomy and science broke up. Okay. Too Sweet, Dr. Too Sweet, you can come in when you want to. Okay, so with astrology
and astronomy,
yes, because again, science was not created by scientists. Scientists saying you got to show me, right? Science came out of the ancestors, but scientists said you got to show me, okay? And so this is where Nepal is going after scientists saying yes, right? Because after her debate with the monkeys saying you got to go in deep. You see what I'm saying? Y'all gonna have to
the monkey people, Lord,
and go a little deeper, right? And now here we go. So now here we are, right? Because all of your allergies and y'all didn't everybody got a little specialist, right? Because we used to have an ear, nose, and throat doctor, but now we're going to the ear doctor, the nose doctor, and the throat doctor because everybody's specialist now.
Right.
Kudos.
Yeah. Right? And that was another point. That's a point that I keep making.
Right. Kudos to the specialist.
Thank you.
So again, when you get your allergies, right, I had to get kicked out because I had an allergy going on with my eye. Okay. And so when you miss a class, right? So again, they separated astrology and astronomy, right? And so one had to show me, and one said you didn't know me, right? And here we go. Now,
I'm so done with you.
So, right now, when y'all get to talking, and I get to smoking, we get to losing stuff. So
no, we didn't lose anything.
No, I did. I do, So that was the point that I had to make. And so when you can't predict the future, right?
Look at this madness. I'm listening to
when you can't predict the future, yet we prepare for it. So when projections, right? You making planes, you're making trains, you're making cars, you're making rockets and stuff, and we getting ready to go somewhere. Who all want to go to Mars? Who all want to go to the moon? Right? We moving to the future, right? But we can't predict the future. Because you can't take it with you, and you can't predict the future. Even in astrology, they said that's pseudo.
I thought he was gonna hit the panel. I'm sorry.
We making cars 6 months ahead for 2026. The new cars come out in June.
That's a fact.
So, but we predicting the future. Who all want to go to Mars? All right. So again,
whole movies predicting futures.
Right. So again, but this science. But where the pseudo at? Oh, that's metaphorical. I'm sorry.
But I have a question too.
Mystical.
I wanna introduce after she's done. I want to introduce
overplay for the underlay, and I'm gonna let that rest. So again, it depends on you and your mindset, right?
We've been
afraid of pseudos.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna
this smoke break.
I'm gonna get to you, Gemini, but I mean Genesis, but I was thinking Gemini because she has to get up early, and everybody probably does. I know I do, but I know it's way later where they are than Doc Too Sweet and I and Genesis.
We can probably wrap it up in a little bit.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up soon because we can't. We already know. You keep on talking in the chat. Earlier, you said you're going to hit the panel. It's okay if y'all go over there and you totally just twist everything we said over here. I bet you will not address the Department of Perceptual Studies and respectfully. Now remember, when you address them, y'all like to bring people on your channel. James Tucker, I can send the video that if you're going to start talking crazy about them, it's not a threat. My point is, you so love scientists, maybe you could actually have some of them onto your show, onto the island. I hope that we will make sure that we could get them back off into the mainland. Y'all are stranded. They're not. So anyway, Keon left. He probably just wanted to come in and say that he doesn't ever want to go to Pseudo Killigan's Island or something like that. Shout out. Go ahead, Genesis, and then we're gonna go around and close out. But he keeps on saying we're pseudo. We showed you that we're able to decipher between science and metaphysical science, mainstream science, but we also know that there is a gray area in between. That means that it hasn't been discovered. I'll say it again. You can't tell us about what's going on with Fermi. Fermi's paradox said, if we know that there's so many different hypothetically or possibly inhabitable planets out there in the solar system, why in the universe, I should say, the universe, not the solar, well, the universe. Why don't we ever see any of this other intelligent life? They don't sit around and go, oh, but another intelligent scientist or astrophysicist doesn't go, duh, because they use pseudo. They go,
right, exactly. And that is my point.
Pseudoscience when they're like actually like talking about it. So I guess the scientists talking about that are pseudo too.
Exactly.
And I really wanted to talk about the fact that actually a traditional Chinese medicine, the people consider that to be pseudoscience. Acupuncture is considered pseudoscience, but people use acupuncture for pain management. On top of that,
no, literally, my insurance pays for it.
Yeah, I sat with an acupuncturist that did some stuff to me, and I was able to breathe deeper and everything. And he didn't even do acupuncture. He did something where he touched certain meridians on my body,
like Reiki.
And my whole lungs opened up. So. But that would be considered pseudoscience because there's no scientific method to back it up. And here's the thing. The reason why there's no scientific methods to back it up is because they can't quantify that and put it
bottle it
up and
that's it.
And put it on the market and make capital and be capitalist about it. So
had to give you your bomb on that one.
Yep. So
close out Genesis, and I'm gonna go back to Doc Too Sweet. I think I need to go to Gemini first because she's probably asleep anyway. Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, I think that what people do is that they find one big thing and one certain subject, and they say, okay, see this thing right here, and I want to keep on this. See, she said she proved this, so everything is wrong. That's a logical fallacy. When you just because this thing might be right, don't mean that everything is wrong. You understand? So I would say that that you need to get your logical fallacies together. Yes, that might be that AI is able to say that. That does not mean that the AI is right, because AI is hallucinate all the time. And when you do more research, different scientists will say different things about different subjects. So, science is I don't believe the science is 100% correct every time either. So I don't think that it's smart to even rely everything on that as well. So to not be open to other possibilities because it's not proven by scientific method is just kind of like ridiculous. So that's not.
And I love that you said that. Scientists and those in the scientific community, they don't the real scientific minds don't ever say that they're 100% correct. They're always they'd said that they would close all the labs down and say, okay, y'all, you want to go who wants to go to Gilligan's Island? Pseudo Gilligan's Island. No, they keep on going. They say, well, but why? But wait, I think there's a better way. Why is this? They never say we're 100. They will say over there, oh, science doesn't deal in absolutes, but you do on the island.
Right. That part.
Go ahead. I'm going to go to
contradiction.
Let me go to Gemini, and then I'm going to go around because Gemini is the one who's got to get up. She's probably got to get up in 2 hours now.
Yeah, you already know. I had to turn off the lights and everything. I couldn't take it. But no, this is a great discussion. Thank you for definitely sitting here having me and joining in this discussion. It was great to meet you, the good Dr. Too Sweet. Hi.
Likewise. Hey, girl.
And of course, I talk to my sister Sakina every day. Talk to Nepal all the time. Genesis. I don't know Genesis that well, but Genesis, I see you around the community and this and that. And I appreciate what you say. Most times, you have to be kind of honest. Sometimes I don't agree, but most times,
I love that she's so brutally honest. That's why you gotta love this woman.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, and tonight, and tonight was a great build. So I'm looking for a part 2 for this. Because this is some good stuff. Because I really too wanted to go back over the Too Sweet's 5-point chart. Y'all know that's my lane. That's my. I don't want to say the word shit. That's my shit right there. I really want to, have a build and go over that and talk a little slowly, piece by piece, about those 5 things, because I thought that was absolute great. That was 2.2 seconds of some great stuff, sis.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll slow down next time.
Yes, every bit of that I can relate to. So,
appreciate you.
I'm going to listen to the closeout for everybody else, and then for me, that's it. And so, good night to the chat. Kent has been nice, but don't be talking about no we when you here representing. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm so glad you joined us. Next time we will do more. To the vision, these are visionaries. To all the visionaries on the panel, peace and love. Let's move on to. I know you got to go because you have a little child, Doc Too Sweet. So I'm going to let you close out. And thank you so much for being here. We were messing around. Before you leave, though, wait. Okay, wait. Please go ahead and do your closeout. But I want to show you all something, Gemini. I got to show you before you leave. Go ahead, Doc. I'm listening. I'm muting now. I got to find something. Hold on.
Okay. To the ladies on the panel, this has been wonderful. I appreciate each and every one of you. Definitely looking forward to building with you more in the future. Super duper special shout out to Nepal for kind of taking me under her wing, so to speak. We've had some beautiful conversations that I hope to kind of continue to bring for the public. And for everybody in the chat, thank you for stopping by listening. Thank you for all your input. Even Kent being weird and trying to bring his island over here. And yeah, I look forward to more builds like this. Again, thank you, everybody.
Yes.
And yes, my daughter is giving me that look like, okay, Mom, what we doing?
I know.
Okay, but if you want,
Too Sweet, can I have a copy of that PowerPoint so I can read over it, and then when we come back, I can have all my points and stuff ready.
Yeah, I got you. We'll figure that out. I don't know. Maybe I can shoot it to Nepal. She can send it to you. She can send me your
because
email.
Nepal got all my info. Exactly.
Okay.
now,
Okay. Cool.
I know you got to go to your wiki,
Uh-huh.
but I gotta play this for you. I gotta get you.
What is
Damn,
it?
I wish I had it queued up. I'm gonna get it. Just give me like 1 minute, 60 seconds, and then while she's doing that, Sakina, go ahead and close out. By the time Sakina's finished,
Come on, Sakina, girl.
All right. Well, I want to say peace to the chat. And Ken, I'm so sorry. Oh, listen.
We love Ken. He used to bother us too on our own Sakina show.
Listen,
he likes you guys.
But I want to say peace to the chat. And ladies, this was so awesome. I've experienced Genesis. I'm so glad you came. I'm sorry you came late, but I'm glad you came. Input is always good. Listen, this was the information is always good, right? Everybody always comes in on time with the wonderfulness. Again, I'm never trying to knock science and the scientists, right? But my whole thing is respect, right? And
For sure.
we have to give the respect where it's due. While we digging the ancestors, right, and we're digging in thee, give them their dignity, right, and don't just dig in the bones, and we're digging them up, and we're digging up all of the statues and all of this and all of that, and then we're digging this up and tombs and all of this, and we're guessing what they said and what it meant, and the hieroglyphs and all of this. We're guessing, and then after that we're debunking it, and now we're bringing it back, and we're guessing again on theories, and we're fancying up words, and then when you find out, when you get to a certain cap, you say what you mean, the etymology, and you're saying the idioms don't exist. Well, they do exist, right? And so all of this is great knowledge for they say you couldn't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, you are, right? Because those phones that didn't exist at one time, you're teaching them right now, the cell phones and all. I think one of y'all said that example with a microwave, right? And it was a cartoon called The Jetsons for me. And we got those microwaves and carrying on right now.
Watch phones and everything.
There you go. And with that,
thank you, Queen. Don't leave. I love you. I love Sakina. Sakina, I love everyone here. Sakina is so awesome. You just got to soak it all in. I'm telling you, you go back and listen to playback. It's going to be like even more is going to download it and be like, damn.
Wait, what is this on the screen? What is this?
I gotta tell you this. Peace to Dead Blacks. Thank you for the super chat.
Oh, is this where he wasn't telling the truth about his source?
Yeah,
okay.
Just gotta let you stop pretending. Why are you asking for scientific papers when you cannot read them? And why are you reading scientific papers on a study of out-of-body experiences and then calling out-of-body experiences unscientific? These are just basic questions. Let's listen to. Now we're going to hear this word. Okay. The professor's going to call temporal parietal lobe. He knows it as a name of a Italian gangster. Demodoro Patrizio. Let's close. Bring me the paper. Why? You can't read it. Why would I bring it to you? Let's listen. Demodoro. Temporal parietal. Say it with me. Temporal parietal. There's a temporal, A-L lobe. And there's a parietal, and this is the thing. They say it's not a big deal. It is, because this is the crux of the study, because these are areas of the brain that relate to consciousness. Well, some of the areas. when you say somatosensory, which she didn't even know what she's reading, she said some somatatory, she was saying cinnamon toast or something. And I'm going to keep on pushing because if you can't say the word, you don't know what you're reading. If you don't know what you're reading, which you didn't, because this is a study on OBEs, you killed yourself. If you don't know what you're reading, why are you asking us for the paper? But I just want to get a little laugh right here.
Oh, I'm crying.
Now look, when you put it together, it's I gotta go temporal-parietal because there's a junction between those two, and that's where they're doing the research for the OBOs in real science. This is so. Here it comes. Here it comes. Easy, so like work. Let's listen to that fun. Y'all got to be laughing at that. Demodoro.
I talk about out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences. We talk about how they can stimulate out-of-body experiences with VI now because they know exactly where in the brain your sense of direction and orientation in your body and to the environment. Right, that is right where the temodoro. Patricio.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Come on, dog. Oh, yeah.
He said Timo.
No, I'm an Italian.
Italian gangster.
You don't know.
Timolaro, the Timo. Italian Timo.
Patricio. Out-of-body experience.
Sounds delicious.
With VI.
Look at her over there. She's so goofy. Like she's throwing her hands up like dumb. He's reading the paper proving our point that it's science. And I have to say,
while saying it's not science.
That's the most offensive thing I've said to her in years since she's been talking about me. She calls people dummies all the time. Like you guys both look like dummies. Like he's reading the paper.
Like he done had an Asperger.
He's reading.
You and this Asperger.
He's reading the paper, proving our point, and then he can't even say temporal parietal. Listen.
Right now, because they know exactly where in the brain your sense of direction and orientation in your body and to the environment. Right, that is right where the temodoro. Patricio.
Come on now, dog.
Hey, Patricio.
Come on, man.
What?
You thought I was lying?
Wait, he adding letters that ain't even there. Like, how do you even do that? Oh man, I'm crying. And what's so funny is if you are even a freshman. Even if you're a freshman in psychology, right, you're going to come across that word so much that it's going to be easy to pronounce. So for
damn, she's on point. Exactly. And
someone to not be...
You're breaking up. Damn, I wanted you to
able
get in
to
there.
pronounce that word. That... Oh, man, I'm going to wake up laughing. This funny.
Well, and then look, and Juju sitting up there like, duh.
Right.
Don't y'all know that word? Don't y'all know what something?
I gotta show you. Do you want to see her when she's trying to say somatosensory? So hilarious.
Just real quick.
We can make t-shirts. Whenever someone does this, we have to make t-shirts.
Let me get this out. She said, well, it's just because you went and studied it. Somatosensory. I took basic psychology 101. And then at the end of this, she's so, oh my gosh, that's fake. She says, oh, I have a friend who does all this, and you guys need to go learn the anatomy. You don't even know the anatomy of the brain. There's 4 lobes, and you can't even say temporal parietal. You don't even know what somatosensory is. So I might as well play her part. Really, I won't take long. I just want you to see these are the people who are sitting over there trying to tell you to bring them papers, and they can't even pronounce basic anatomy of the brain. They can't. Here it is. Here it is right here. I'm going to get it for you right now.
Right.
Go ahead. And where she's saying, she's reading the paper, and she's like, do you think you guys can comprehend? Here it is. Right, hold on.
See, that part.
The Tamaru jury. Tamaru jury.
Seen it. She can't even say somatosensory. Here it is. She says when she's reading about the gyrus. I'm talking like her. The gyrus. There's a ridge in the brain. And it's not just in the brain. It's in all kinds of parts of the body. She's calling it gyrus. She doesn't even know what she's reading. I'm pointing this out because you don't know what you're reading. It's not just that you can't pronounce it. You don't even stop to go find out what it means. So you're not qualified to critique anybody scientifically. You're not. Listen to her right here.
Is the brain that you see shows stimulation mapping, and the electrolode side on the right.
She said electrolode. Does anybody
in the what? Oh, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. We're not gonna skip over that. No, we're not gonna skip over that real quick. Did she mean electrode? Is that what she just said?
Electrode, yes.
She said electrolode.
Not the electrolode.
There's
like
they're not qualified.
You know when Damien Wayne was in jail at
I'm definitely going to hell.
Picking up words.
No, yeah, she's doing that. And what they do though, we're not making fun of people not reading. They make fun of everybody and act like we're dumb, but you can't read, man. And then, you can read. You can't read the science. You can't read the paper. Here it is. Here.
But it ain't no love. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, so
I didn't want to get this guy in here.
I'm gonna fast forward it. Give me a minute.
Within the chicks are lined up. My next series is gonna make them even hard. They're gonna cry even more.
No, she's gonna get to this one. Oh, hold on. I'm glad you said this. Ben, y'all know what time it is. So let's get back to her. She thinks she's doing something by presenting this information. It's a hilarious laugh. And I'm going to show you proof on a website where this information is actually used, obviously, in out-of-body experience and near-death experience research. It's just the groundwork. It's like the basic fundamentals of the study. But she doesn't even know what the words mean. When she gets to a particular word, which you will see, she's going to just breeze right through it. She's not going to know. When she says phenomenological and she breezes through that word, she doesn't get it. You just killed yourself. Okay. She's going to say some things. Anyway, I know I'm dragging it out. Let's listen to her. I'm going to pause it and we're going to help her with these words. This is what she says when she says, can you guys follow? You can't even follow.
Hey, the electroload.
You're in the dark.
Listen. Is it okay to start in the middle? Would y'all get it? Y'all think y'all can comprehend it real quick?
See how condescending she is, and she doesn't even know it herself. Listen. Did you hear that, y'all? The audacity. Yeah. I told you they remind me of somebody walking around with no pants on, no panties, no drawers, and just a t-shirt on, walking around with no bottoms on. People saying, you're naked. How are you going to ask people, can they comprehend something that you can't comprehend? How? How, Sway? How are you going to ask a group of people just random, so damn condescending, and don't know what the heck you're talking about? How are you going to ask them if they can comprehend it when you can't even comprehend? You don't even know how to pronounce the words, and you don't even try. You don't even know what the words mean. So again, how are you going to ask us for information and say you need scientific proof and papers when you need to take the paper and run it through Chat GPT so we can tell you what it means? Check. Let's listen again.
That's the first one. Complex partial.
First episode is fiction, fairy tale, or fables. We gonna put something on display for y'all.
Epilepsy was implicated. I'm gonna give y'all that much, okay? So this woman is not deceased. She's not unalived, all right? However, out-of-body experience was recorded in this instance, and scientists have a very good idea, because you don't speak in absolutes, where that starts. Right now.
Okay, so you heard her right there. Okay, I'm fast forward.
Right.
It is a study. It's a study that took place in her. Hear me out. Always lie OBEs, thinking they're
go to every.
I saw this video in the echo chamber. Showing word either, y'all. Gyrus. What is a gyrus? Oh, she didn't know how to say gyrus. Let me get it. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, family. You're not working. I gotta get it because you're gonna come in here doing the same. It's gonna be so satisfying when you hear her say. Oh, here it is. Lord have mercy. She can't say it at all. The way she runs over that changes the word. It becomes somatosynary. Somatosynary. Nothing comes out. She calls it somatosynary. Okay, I can't.
Repeatedly, and it induced out-of-body experience, as well as a vestibular and complex.
She can't
vestibular. Right.
Somatosynary response.
What?
No, ma'am.
Hold on. Wait a
A
minute.
somatosynary, my friend.
Wow.
Hold on.
And she continues to say it. It's not only one. Like she continues to say somatosynary, and she says some cinnamon toastinary. It's like
I'm crying.
And this is the thing. I want to point this out. We're making fun of you because you have the audacity to sit on your high horse and say you know about consciousness when you know zero. Because if you did, you know somatic. I'm almost said somatosenary. Somatosensory related. Yeah, it's related to your consciousness.
Can you imagine the doctor?
So
we got to go into the cardiovascular, the cardiovasculone.
We need to go into the Paricio, the son of the father, that's what it is. So let me just get a paper and start reading. So what we see is a cardiovascular pentylocenary pentagonals.
Man, everybody be like, what? What are you
I would slap myself.
Anyway, so that's that. I wanted to share that. Yes, Juju.
Oh man,
you're not
I'm crying.
qualified, my dear. You need to sit down and let us do the science, and you just keep on pushing those buttons and making people feel like crap on those panels and scaring the hell out of the professor. Telling them
real quick, I just want to stress the point that I feel like they came at me so hard because I was unshakable. And a friend of mine pointed out that a lot of people, it's easy to pretend you're an intellectual when you have Google and AI at your fingertips. But if you take away the computer, the phone, and all these other things and ask people to just speak on a topic from the dome, they can't do it. And I was able to do that. And I did it in a way where I was humble about it. So yeah, it was weird that they would do this and then embarrass themselves. Like, I didn't even see none of this because I would have been clowning so hard. Like, fam, how are you coming at somebody and you can't say a 5-syllable word that is literally easy to pronounce? So thank you for this laugh. I needed that. And I'm gonna continue to do what I do because this is hilarious.
Yeah, that gives you some sort of solace. That gives you some sort of solace.
Mm-hmm. Yes, peace, everybody. Peace to Queen's Throne. I see you in the chat. It's all love. I like to move forward and be peaceful with people that show me love and peace and respect. Because it'll be the minute they stop trying to tell people you work at, she's not a scientist, she works at Bank of America. We would look in her. Look, you want to. Oh my God, please. You can go off, but if you can't stay. But if you can, I need to play Genesis. Please get that clip from your channel. I'm begging you. With
I gotta hear it.
The clip where the sister of the my God, I can't. I'm drawing a blank. Her name is you know who I'm talking about. Genesis. I said Genesis. Yeah, Genesis. Where the sister saying, "Look, if you want to come to me and you want to, you want to squash it, Genesis, are you asleep?" She fell asleep or something. Genesis.
I'm trying to find it. I'm like, I'm not even sure which one you're talking about.
The short that's on your channel. I can get it if you want me to. It's a short on your channel, and it's perfect. This is what we're going to end with. I'll get it. I got it. You getting it, or I'm going to get it?
You got it. You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Because
this is hilarious.
I want to show you. The minute you mess with us, we're not going to come in. Priscilla Schreier. Okay. Here it is. I'm going to try this. Okay, let me just get this. Here it is. Okay, listen to this.
Someone offends me or someone hurts me or does something.
Oh, yeah.
It rolls off my shoulders pretty easy. When somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, will you forgive me for what I did to you?" I'm going to forgive them and say, "Girl, come on, let's move on. We get this all right." I'm wired that way. I'm easygoing. But if I find out,
right?
I'm saying don't get it twisted. If I find out that someone's been scheming, that's a whole different story. Because scheming implies pre-planning. If you've been scheming against me, that means you've been watching for a little while. You've been trying to figure out what it is about me that is most weak, most frail, most vulnerable, so that you can take advantage of me. You've been studying me to find out what my patterns are and what the predilection of my flesh is and what my preferences are, so that you can figure out the best time to take most full advantage of me and the people that I love. When I find out that you've been scheming against me and the people that I love, well, if it's a war you want, it's a war you're gonna have.
It's a war you gonna get.
Okay.
I know that's right.
Explosion right after that. Boom.
Let me
Right.
tell you, y'all, peace and love. Peace and
and
love.
love.
It's all love. Listen, and
All
I
love.
know that was hitting home for you, Doc, because she was loving on you and the whole time watching.
Stalking my page and just girl,
but don't wait. This is the good thing. She's stranded on. Wait, let me just say this. I mean this when I say this. Okay, I just need you to sit right back.
Yes, ma'am.
You're a tale of a faithful trip. It started on a tropic isle aboard their tiny ship.
I'm over this.
Wait, now hold on. The you made me mess up, Gemini.
I'm sorry.
The mighty the skipper was a mighty sailing man, brave and sure, and 5 passengers sailed that day.
I can't.
On a 3-hour live stream. No, I'm just kidding. All right, y'all. Anyway, peace.
This was wonderful, ladies. Y'all are also beautiful. I appreciate y'all, and I really can't wait until the next time. And y'all be safe.
Yes, peace and love. Peace to everybody. I know this was for Doc Too Sweet Queen. Yeah, I love that. So peace. We'll see you next time to the Visionaries. Thank you. All the keep being visionaries and keep being, forgot to say it, the darkest minds of the light, because over there on the island, they said they're the lightest minds of the dark, and we're okay. We're going to keep on working on them. Peace and love. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Buenos nachos.
Buenos nachos. Yeah.